Chapter 279. At night, when Scarlet Swamp Town was shrouded in a hazy mist, the townspeople who returned late returned home with the harvest of a day's hard work. Bundles of tough reeds, lotus root-like herbs, or strange insects and herbs, these were the resources they relied on to make a living. A figure covered in blood rushed through the small town, running on the muddy road in a very sorry state. He rolled and crawled, his body covered in mud as he finally arrived in front of an abandoned warehouse. The young man's appearance was very cold. He could be considered handsome, but because there were several fierce scars on his face, he looked a bit fierce. It was clear he was not a good person. The young man looked at the blue boulder to the side. When he saw the strange black mark on it, he revealed a look of joy as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. "This is great." A certain rhythm was beating against the old wooden door. Creak. The wooden door was pulled open by an invisible power. Suddenly, a gust of fishy wind blew out from inside. A hoarse and cold voice entered his ears, "Come in." In the middle of the abandoned warehouse sat a skinny old woman. Her sparse hair was almost all gone, and her 10 fingers were scarlet and sharp. Her eyes were protruding and bloodshot. She looked like a monster that was neither human nor ghost. Her entire body was wrapped in a layer of blood-red mist, and a powerful and dangerous aura emanated from her body. Beside her was a black-clothed large man holding a blade. He had a leopard's head, tiger's eyes, and a messy beard. He had the appearance of a fierce man. There were also 2 black-clothed people standing there. They had fierce expressions and were covered in killing intent. It was obvious they had cultivated a demonic cultivation technique. Strange. The large man was stunned when he saw the young man. "Why is it only you?" The young man fell to the ground. The 2 branch lords were killed on the road. The old woman knelt down. "What did you say?" "The branch lords have deep cultivations, how could they be killed?" The large man coldly said, "If they were killed, how did you survive?" "When we spent the night in the forest, the branch lords sent me to hunt some prey. When we were about to return, I suddenly heard a fight in the forest. Those people had deep cultivations and I had no way of dealing with them. In the end, the 2 branch lords were killed and I risked my life to take back a scarlet blood token." While he was speaking, the young man took out a token. "This really is the scarlet blood token." The large man's eyes flashed with greed and cruelty. The scarlet blood token was the ticket to enter the headquarters. The large man did not have a scarlet blood token, but the leader already had one, so this scarlet blood token would most likely be given to someone else. "You're such a shameless bastard." The burly man's face was filled with ferocity as he rebuked, "The branch leader is in danger, yet you are still alive. You are simply the scum of our sect." It was just a casual remark. Who didn't know the style of demonic cultivators? Only profit was above all else, and they were cruel and tyrannical. It was common for people of the same sect to kill each other. How could there be such a mess of restrictions? The ugly old woman slowly opened her eyes and stared at the young man with murky eyes. "What's your name?" "I am Ling Feng, I am," before he could finish his words. That withered hand directly grabbed his neck and forcibly lifted him up from the ground. The old woman's attack was so quick that no one present could see it clearly. The young man exclaimed, "Lord Hallmaster, you can escape death with such a weak cultivation base?" The old woman's voice was as unpleasant as if sand had been rubbed into it. She absolutely did not believe that this person could escape alive after the 2 branch lords had been killed. He was either a spy in disguise, or he had been deliberately let go to lure out the other members of the Heavenly Devil cult. "Speak. How did you get here?" The blood in the young man's body began to boil, as if it could be ignited at any moment. The old woman's strength was deep and her methods were very cruel. Under her aura, even a normal true soul realm cultivator would lose their mind, not to mention an illustrious soul realm cultivator. This little one is a descendant of Tsung State's Ling family. My ancestors have received the favor of the Tianma cult and have been passed down for several generations, waiting for the day the sacred cult reopens. If you don't believe me, you can investigate. The young man said with a face filled with pain. As for the branch leaders being killed, this little one was lucky to escape. If Sir does not believe me, this little one has nothing to say. Sung Statesling family. He did have a bit of an impression. The old woman stared at the young man. Even under the strong pressure, his body temperature, heartbeat, expression, and even his pupils did not have any abnormal reactions. She couldn't help believing him a bit. Go take a look outside. The large man flew out of the warehouse like lightning. Search his body. The two of them searched the young man's body, only finding a treasure sword, a manual, and a diary. When the Tianma cult's disciples gave the things to the old woman inspected them one by one. The treasure sword was filled with a bloody aura and was a rare top-grade soul equipment. Moreover, its attribute was very close to the scarlet blood branches. Normal cultivators would not use a weapon with such a heavy blood aura because this kind of weapon could easily backfire on its master. It was very similar to the style of the Tianma cult's scarlet blood branch demonic cultivators. The manual was also something from the Tianma cult, and the diary was a detailed record of this cultivator named Ling Feng. It was a record of his experiences in the inheritance and cultivation process. The large man had already returned, reporting to the leader, "There is nothing strange." The old woman slowly withdrew her aura. "It seems like you really are a disciple of the sacred cult. To be able to escape from that kind of environment, you must have some skills." The young man quickly humbly said, "This little one has admired the sacred cult's techniques since he was young, but it's a pity that he has only learned a few fragments. I hope that the leader can accept this little one and allow this little one to officially join the sacred cult. There's an extra token." The old woman did not care about the young man and kicked the token away. The scarlet blood token rolled in front of the young man and a cold voice rang out, "Since it's like this one can bring one person to the headquarters to see the head venerate. As for this person, you can choose them yourselves." After saying this, the old woman's eyes flashed with a cruel light. When the large man heard this, his eyes filled with killing intent. The long blade was like a blood flood dragon that instantly pierced through the body of the person next to him, directly turning their chest to dust. When the long blade was pulled out, it brought a wave of blood as it fiercely slashed at his companion on the other side. There were not many normal disciples of the Tianma cult. The large man used his blade to kill one person, but it would not be easy to kill a second person. Blood barrier. That person's spirit energy surged out and condensed into a giant barrier. When the blood wave blade slashed onto the barrier, it instantly shattered the barrier. This person was forced back a step and his face turned red as he spat out a large mouthful of blood. This was not blood spat out from being shaken, but rather a secret technique to force out blood essence. Large amounts of spirit energy had been mixed into it, making each drop of blood a fatal hidden weapon. This large mouthful of blood was spat out at the same time. At such a close distance, it was enough to create a powerful force that sent the large man flying. Blood curse sword. This person quickly formed several seals and the blood beads stopped in the air. Finally they condensed together, forming a treasure sword made of blood that was covered in runes. Quick! The blood sword turned into a stream of light that was like a poisonous snake as it quickly stabbed at the large man's chest. The burly man raised his head to the sky and let out a long and loud roar. Demonic energy started to swirl around his body, and his skin turned pitch black. A large number of magic symbols started to crawl all over his body like tattoos. The burly man's aura suddenly increased by several times. That person's expression fell. Heavenly demonic art. This demonic art could increase one's battle strength by a large amount, but it had a strong side effect. This side effect would not appear in a short period of time, but it would gradually consume one's potential. Over time, there would be an irreversible effect, so unless it was a life or death situation, they would not easily use it. The large man's demonic art increased his strength by several times and he sent the blood curse sword flying with a single slash. The dark red saber radiance suddenly chopped down at the person's head with the force of breaking dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Wait, I don't want the scarlet blood token anymore. The large man acted like he did not hear him at all. The blade glow swept out and tore apart his body, turning him into a pile of minced meat. Zee. The old woman gave a few strange laughs. Seeing the cult kill each other in front of her, not only was she not angry, she said, ruthless and decisive, you are a promising talent. Many thanks for the hall master's praise. The large man's body was covered in dense demonic chi, making him look like a terrifying demon god. When he heard the hall master's praise, he couldn't help revealing a look of wild joy. Then he turned to look at the young man and said with a fierce smile, many thanks for giving me the scarlet blood token and giving me this good fortune. Relax, I will make my move quickly, so you won't feel any pain. This good fortune is very important. Who would have thought that at this time, the weak young man would slowly stand up and pick up the treasure sword on the ground. His eyes were filled with a strong battle intent, forgive me, but I cannot give it away. Ha. Give it away. The large man wildly laughed, you should worry about your little life first. The cold young man softly said, you think you can beat me? The large man was a bit stunned and the old woman revealed a strange look. This young man was only in the 5th awakened soul layer, but the large man was in the 6th awakened soul layer. Not to mention the fact that the large man's heavenly demonic art was very high, so his battle strength was very strong. Even if he fought against 2 demonic cultivators of the same level, he could easily win. This was not simple at all. Demonic cultivators were different from normal cultivators. The cultivation techniques of demonic cultivators were extremely cruel, so compared to normal cultivators, demonic cultivators were much stronger. A trivial 5th awakened soul layer and an injured demonic cultivator actually dared to challenge a powerful 6th awakened soul layer demonic cultivator? I've changed my mind. The large man coldly stepped forward, I've decided to properly torture you and make you regret your stupidity. The young man did not say anything and slowly raised his treasure sword. With one hand holding the sword hilt, the scarlet red blade was slowly pulled out and a strong blood aura filled the area. Die! The large man dragged out a scarlet red blade glow as he slashed at the young man. Sword! The young man gave a loud shout as his spirit energy wildly surged out, releasing a sword source spirit. When this source spirit was released, it suddenly released an incomparably strong aura. It was like a god had descended, filled with majesty and power. God-level source spirit. This was a source spirit close to the god level. Whether it was the large man or the old woman, they were both shocked. With this kind of source spirit, they were destined to be super geniuses. They could easily sweep across people of the same level and could even easily jump levels to fight. Their future prospects were limitless. No one would have thought that this seemingly unremarkable fellow would actually possess a god-level origin soul. No wonder he was able to escape alive. The blood-red treasure sword was completely unsheathed. The young man was covered in a blood mist. He turned into a blood-red blade glow and instantly flew through the air. The moment the sword and blade collided. Pa! A clear breaking sound rang out. The treasure sword was cut in half. The young man fell to the ground and then collapsed as if he had collapsed. The large man on the other side fell to the ground and his head rolled to the door of the warehouse. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. This was the power of a god-level source spirit. So strong. The young man pointed the sword at his body and turned to bow to the old woman, leader, I. He did not even finish speaking. You were acting quite well just now. The old woman's eyes were as sharp as an eagle's and her killing intent filled the air, you almost tricked me. But, do you really think this one is so blind that I can't even tell if you are from Tianma cult or not? Chapter 280. The young man faced the sky-filled killing intent and he couldn't help taking several steps back. The 2 branch lords had been awake for around 2 months and had killed large amounts of innocent people to collect their blood essence to recover to the 9th awakened soul layer. This leader had also been in hiding for several hundred years, but she had only been awake for a few days. Her strength was above the branch lords, reaching the peak ninth awakened soul layer. The difference was so big that it could be seen. This person's current strength was not inferior to the Southern Summer 8 Marquises, he was even a bit stronger. The Tianma cult was truly terrifying. The young man was Chu Tian in disguise, but he was confident that there was no problem with his disguise. This was one of the demonic cultivators that had been killed in the forest. Chu Tian had read through the cultivation logs and finally changed his appearance. In order to make himself look more like a demonic cultivator, Chu Tian had changed the Netherworld sword to the blood-drinking sword. The blood-drinking sword was Central State's Chu Shi's weapon, and now it had become Chu Tian's spoils of war. The blood-drinking sword had the effect of sucking a person's blood essence and tainting their weapon. It was the same as the Scarlet Blood's demonic cultivation technique. Chu Tian believed that he would not be exposed and the leader was just trying to trick him. Since it was like this, why not beat her at her own game and use a few tricks to make her trust him more? I don't understand leader's meaning. You think you can kill the 2 branch lords and disguise yourself as a Tianma cult disciple to sneak in? The old woman's killing intent became stronger and her 5 blood-red nails were covered in a layer of energy. You're using this sword to disguise yourself and make your cultivation technique look like the sacred cult's demonic cultivation technique? This kind of laughable trick. You think you can trick me? This little one is not an official member of the sacred cult and the cultivation technique I practice is limited, so naturally I cannot use the Scarlet Blood Branch's secret techniques. The young man anxiously said, but this little one does not dare trick the leader. I asked the leader to understand. How can I believe you? Chu Tian pretended to be determined and said through gritted teeth, as long as the leader is willing to train this little one after the sacred cult rises, I am willing to sign a master and servant contract with the leader and follow the leader for my entire life. The old woman was shocked. She was just tricking Chu Tian. She did not believe that this person was a spy. First of all, there was no problem with this person's identity. Secondly, his strength was not strong, so he could not threaten her at all. The most important thing was that this person had a strong source spirit. No matter where he went, he would be a highly valued super genius. What kind of power would use this kind of person as bait and let him fall into such a dangerous situation? This was completely unnecessary. Who would have thought that a simple scam would lead to a special reward? This guy had a lot of room for growth. Now that the Saint Church was about to rise, if she could nurture a person well and help him reach a high position, it would definitely be very beneficial to her. Since you have such loyalty. The old woman slowly withdrew her aura. Then I will give you this opportunity. Sign the spiritual contract. Yes. Chu Tian divided a portion of his spirit and sealed it into the contract. This contract was personally held by the old woman. From now on, the young man's life was firmly in the hands of the old woman. The old woman was very satisfied with this result. The rise of the Holy Church was a time of need. Recruiting a talent with great potential was a contribution to the Holy Church, and it could also establish their position in the Holy Church in the future. This seat is called Old Woman Shur Xian. After the old woman Shur Xian received the contract, her attitude became much more gentle. After all, the other side's life was in her hands, so there was no reason not to believe in the other side. The headquarters is about to open and we will personally awaken the head venerate. We will definitely be rewarded by the head venerate. This is a good chance, I hope you can grasp it. Yes, many thanks for the leader's promotion. Take these 2 bottles of pills. One of them can be used to defend against the miasma and the other can be used to heal injuries. Old woman Shur Xian threw 2 bottles of pills over. The Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier has already stabilized, so we need to prepare to leave in 2 days. You need to recover as soon as possible. Chu Tian held the jade bottles as he left the warehouse. His lips curled into a cold smile of ridicule. This old fellow must think that she had already eaten him, right? But she didn't know that everything was under her control. Chu Tian's plan was very simple. Since he was weaker than them, he would borrow their strength. The Warhound's experts were very strong, the Southern Summer experts were very strong, and the Tianma cult's leader, old woman Sure Xian, was not weak either. When the strong fought, there would be injuries and Chu Tian could take advantage of this. A small and cute little white fox came out of a hole in the corner. It shook off the dirt on its body and immediately jumped into Chu Tian's chest, spitting out a pill from its mouth. You want to bind me with a profound contract? What a joke! If a spiritual contract could bind Master Chu Tian. Chu Tian was still Meng Yingying's little slave, how could it be this old and ugly fellow's turn? Chu Tian swallowed the prepared materials and immediately began to refine and repair his spiritual energy. He was completely safe now. Chu Tian opened the pill the old woman gave him and smelled it, revealing a cold smile of ridicule. Sure enough, this pill was mixed with a slow poison. If Chu Tian took it, he would be poisoned. This poison had a long incubation period, but other than the person who made it, there was no cure. Every once in a while, there would be a sharp pain like being bitten by 10,000 ants. The cruel demonic cultivators liked to use underhanded methods to control their subordinates, so a spiritual contract was not enough. A contract could only control life and death, so they needed a way to make people obediently listen to their orders without killing them. Using medicine to control them was the best choice. Old thing, I'll let you be proud for a while. Chu Tian gave the pill to the little fox, be more alert for the next few days, don't let that old thief find you. The little fox threw a pill high into the air and swallowed it when it fell. It chewed on the poison pill like it was eating a jelly bean while making a gesture to Chu Tian that there was no problem. Do I need to repeat the plan? Gee. Are you doubting this fox's intelligence? It was nothing more than creating clues along the way, letting the imperial city, the warhound's tribe, and the old woman come into conflict, letting them kill each other. How hard was this kind of small matter? The little fox did not have any skills. But its ability to escape was first class. Not to mention old woman Sure Xian, even the 3 rulers of the southern summer country could not catch the little fox. So giving this matter to the little fox was basically a foolproof plan. Chu Tian's injuries looked very serious, but most of them were just a disguise. He recovered very quickly, recovering to his original state in a single night. Let's go. Old woman Sure Xian brought Chu Tian away from the Scarlet Swamp town, heading in the direction of the Scarlet Swamp. The Scarlet Swamp was a very large swamp. The swamp was several hundred meters deep and there were swamp creatures living in the swamp. Therefore, once one fell into the swamp, they could forget about climbing out. The other fatal part of the Scarlet Swamp was the air. The main plant in the swamp was a thing called the scarlet algae. This thing was widely distributed in the Scarlet Swamp and it wildly grew by absorbing the poisonous substances in the swamp. During the reproduction process, it would release a poisonous substance. This poisonous substance did not scatter and was hard to break down by the environment, so it formed a miasma over time. Now, the entire Scarlet Swamp was covered in this poisonous miasma. Non-awakened soul cultivators would be poisoned in less than an hour. They would become mad, easily angered, hallucinate, and finally die from madness. Even for awakened soul cultivators and above, if they did not have any protective measures, they would find it hard to stay in the depths of the swamp. This was because the deeper one went into the Scarlet Swamp, the thicker the poisonous mist was. As for normal people, they did not even dare approach the edge of the swamp. Chu Tian walked into the swamp. In his mind, this place should be a barren land. However, when he looked over, he was shocked to find that the Scarlet Swamp was different from what he imagined. The entire swamp was a bright red color. This was the color of the scarlet algae. It was a bright red that was very eye-catching. As far as the eye could see, it was like a bright red ocean. The swamp seemed to contain some kind of energy, so it moved and churned in a certain pattern. It was actually able to form a spectacular scene like the ebb and flow of tides. Old woman Sure Xian walked in front. The poisonous water in the swamp is very corrosive. If you accidentally fall in, your entire body will be corroded, so be careful if you don't want to die. Chu Tian quickly respectfully said, yes. Old woman Sher Xian's skinny and short body jumped up. Her toes stepped on some floating objects and she instantly passed through several hundred meters of the swamp. Gulu, gulu. Large amounts of bubbles appeared in the swamp. Large amounts of poison condensed into a column of air, shooting out from the swamp. Even if it was a piece of steel, it would be instantly corroded. Then, more than a dozen godly creatures that looked like toads emerged from the mud. Red algae and dark green mud flowed all over their bodies. Their bodies looked unstable, as if they were made of mud as well. These were swamp monsters. The scarlet swamp was a unique creature. They lived in the depths of the swamp and used the swamp to hunt for prey. They were poisonous and extremely dangerous. These monsters were not very strong, and as long as they avoided being poisoned, an awakened soul cultivator could easily deal with them, not to mention a peak expert like old woman Sher Xian. Pa, 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 pa. Several dozen blood blades intertwined and all the swamp monsters were cut to pieces. Old woman Sher Xian did not even look at them as she continued to move deeper into the swamp. This old thief's cultivation base was truly strong. Perhaps Qin Bingyu wouldn't last more than 10 rounds against her. Not choosing to directly fight with these fellows was a very correct choice. Chu Tian followed behind old woman Sher Xian. The scarlet swamp, other than being covered in scarlet algae, was also covered in a large amount of red reeds. These reeds were a kind of medicine and were the main source of income for the townspeople. Of course, there were poisonous lizards and pythons hiding in the reeds, so it could be said that this swamp was filled with danger. Who would have thought? The Scarlet Blood headquarters would be established in this kind of place. As the two of them moved deeper, the miasma became thicker and thicker. The red mist covered their vision and the poison quickly increased. Chu Tian had to use the pills he had prepared to resist the poison. Finally they had to travel for an entire day before they reached the center of the Scarlet Swamp. Chapter 281. There were bottomless whirlpools everywhere, but because the surface was covered by the scarlet algae, it couldn't be seen from the outside. The inside of the swamp was swirling and moving, so if one fell into it, the strong suction force would pull them into the swamp, turning them into a part of the bottomless swamp. The demon beasts and creatures here were becoming stranger and stranger, becoming more and more dangerous. Even a true soul realm expert would be injured or even die if they weren't careful. Old woman Sher Xian was fighting a swamp monster in front of them. Chu Tian maintained a certain distance from Sher Xian the entire time. From the reeds on the side, a sneaky fox head popped out and gave a soft cry to Chu Tian. It gestured a few times with its claws, indicating that it had arranged everything. Chu Tian nodded and gave it a signal, telling the little fox to quickly hide. Old woman Sher Xian destroyed the swamp monster and turned around to ask in a dissatisfied voice, "What are you waiting for?" "Sir Hall Master, there's a situation over there." "What?" Sher Xian suddenly flew out, flying several hundred meters in the direction Chu Tian pointed out before landing in a swamp filled with mud. When she saw the thing in front of her, Sher Xian's brows knit together. This is. An incomparably large dark purple tentacle had been cut off in the reeds. This tentacle was over 10 meters long and was completely purple in color. There were naturally formed runes on its surface and disgusting large suckers that were still opening and closing, like it was not completely dead yet. The cut was smooth and neat. Large amounts of purple-red liquid flowed into the swamp, letting out chi sounds of corrosion and releasing large amounts of poisonous gas. Chu Tian pretended to be surprised as he said, "This tentacle monster must be a very strong swamp monster, the person who killed it must be a peak expert." "I don't need you to say it, this one already knows." From the clean cut, the person who cut off the tentacle must be an expert in the 9th awakened soul layer or above. Old woman Sher Xian pondered for a moment before saying with a serious expression, "Someone moved faster than we imagined, we have to hurry to the Scarlet Blood Temple." The Scarlet Swamp was very large and there was a small chance of them passing through the paths of others. This was naturally left here by the little fox to cooperate with Chu Tian. "Go to the Scarlet Blood Temple. If you all go in. Do I even have the time to take advantage of the situation? Yeah. Chu Tian didn't bat an eyelid as he deliberately said, that day, Scarlet Swamp Town saw 2 Southern Xia experts appear. Other than the experts from Southern Xia, there are also experts from the Warhounds Plains. There are quite a few people who want the Scarlet Blood treasures this time. These powerhouses from different forces, their common goal is the Scarlet Blood sex treasure, so they will definitely regard the Tianma cult as their #1 enemy. Especially the Scarlet Blood head Venerate, his cultivation is high and his influence is strong, he is the existence they fear the most. Chu Tian said this with a serious expression, but after sleeping for several hundred years, the head Venerate has just woken up, so his strength should be greatly reduced. If he were to face a sneak attack from many experts in the Scarlet Blood Temple, I'm afraid. Enough. Old woman Sure Xian sneered and a cold killing intent flashed in her eyes. These rats want to deal with the head Venerate? Let's go. Follow them. Chu Tian pretended to be surprised as he said, Leader, are we not going into the temple? Old woman Sure Xian had already made her decision. Her withered body was like a powerful bullet as it shot through the reeds, chasing in a direction. They would fight sooner or later, so why fight in the Scarlet Blood Temple? It was better to take advantage of the fact that the other side had not noticed and carefully launch a sneak attack. If they could get rid of 1 or 2, then they could join forces with the head Venerate in the Scarlet Blood Temple and the others would not be a problem. Just like what this fellow had said, the Scarlet Blood head Venerate's cultivation was very strong, but after sleeping for several hundred years, he would be very weak for a period of time. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate was very famous, so how could the people who came to steal the Tianma cult's treasures not fear him? If the Scarlet Blood head Venerate escaped, they would be finished. If the Scarlet Blood head Venerate recovered his strength to take revenge, even the 3 ruler realm experts could not save them. No one wanted to leave behind a large hidden danger in the future. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate would definitely be the first target to be attacked. With this many experts attacking the head Venerate, the Scarlet Blood branch would not be able to make a comeback if anything happened to the head Venerate. Old woman Sure Xian chased after the other side without any hesitation. She found a few clues along the way, but as she chased deeper, she found more and more traces. This was because the little fox had already led Sure Xian to the other side's true path. When they approached the center of the Scarlet Swamp, the poison mist became thinner. When Chu Tian looked into the distance, he found that there was a giant red barrier in the center of the Scarlet Swamp. The barrier was in the shape of a hemisphere and it covered the center of the swamp. A large-scale barrier. Then what was sealed inside the barrier was the Scarlet Blood Temple. There was the sound of fighting in front of them which attracted Chu Tian and Sure Xian's attention. There was a giant monster in the center of the swamp that looked like a terrifying demon dragon. Its body was covered in scales and barbs, with sharp claws that were like blades. It had a large and terrifying body that was as large as a small mountain and the green light that came out of its mouth had a strong killing intent. Wherever the green light went, everything would be disintegrated. Its might was very shocking. This was a super strong level 2 special grade demon beast, the Dragon Lizard Beast. Its strength was not inferior to the Southern Summer 8 Marquises. Only in the deepest part of the Scarlet Swamp could one find this kind of rare beast. 3 gray-colored people were fighting the Dragon Lizard Beast. The Dragon Lizard Beast appeared to be very manic as it spat out waves of green energy. Wherever this energy swept through, everything, no matter what it was instantly disintegrated into nothingness. The 3 tall gray-robed people were not simple. Although the Dragon Lizard Beast was very strong, they could still restrain it, not falling into a disadvantage. Actually, anyone with a bit of brain could see this. The 3 of them did not directly clash with the Dragon Lizard Beast, mainly because they wanted to consume the Dragon Lizard Beast's strength. The Dragon Lizard Beast was incomparably strong, but it was still a stupid demon beast. It did not realize the strategy of the 3 of them and continued to wildly attack. Of the 3 gray-robed people, one was holding an axe and one was holding a mace, all of them were at least in the 9th awakened soul layer. The strongest one was holding a long sawtooth blade in each hand, being in the peak ninth awakened soul layer. Other than that, their strength and fighting style were different from most southern summer cultivators. The identities of these three people were almost obvious. Roar! The dragon lizard beast once again spat out a flame attack. That wild energy swept out in a fan shape as it was released. The three gray figures jumped back at the same time, but the flames were still rolling forward, charging at the reeds behind the three of them. Chu Tian was shocked. This flame was actually coming here. Could they have already been discovered by the other side? Humph! Old woman Sher Xian suddenly grabbed Chu Tian and jumped out. When the green light fell on the reeds were instantly broken into pieces, disappearing from sight in the blink of an eye. Not even a speck of ash was left behind. Before the two of them landed on the ground, a gray figure charged forward, releasing a powerful source spirit. Two cold sawtooth blades came out like the fangs of a viper and two blade glows flew out. Although it wasn't beautiful, it was still very strong. Old woman Sher Xian threw away Chu Tian and her robe moved without any wind. Her powerful source spirit was released, which was a blood-red python. It suddenly attacked from behind and bit the blade glows. Old woman Sher Xian seized this chance to send out a palm. The gray-robed person blocked it with his blade and was sent flying back. The gray robe was torn apart and this person's true appearance was revealed. When he saw the other side's appearance, Chu Tian couldn't help being a bit stunned. This person was close to 2 meters tall. Although he had the outline of a human, his body was covered in thick fur. The most prominent part was his head, which was like a wolf's head. His two green eyes were like ghost flames in the dark, making people's hearts turn cold. It really was the Warhound's tribe. The spirit beasts living in the Warhound plains were mainly the dog and wolf races. The wolf race had a higher status, so most of the middle and upper class powers were made up of the wolf race. The spirit beast expert in front of them was a wolf race expert. This expert from the wolf clan who wielded dual blades was definitely not an ordinary person. Southern Xia did not have as many experts as the Warhound's tribe, but a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert was a peak existence even on the Warhound's plains. I am the cracked tooth tribe, great warrior Nualuo. The Warhound's expert asked in a very stiff voice, who are you? The spirit beast language was different from the human language. The spirit beasts were not a unified race like the human race, rather they were a very large group. The wolf race was just one of the large groups. So the spirit beast culture was very contradictory and there were many different languages. The spirit beasts' intelligence was lower than humans and they were not as flexible as humans, so the spirit beasts would not learn the languages of other races. This wolf race was not only strong, he was also very familiar with the human language, showing that he was an outstanding spirit beast. Old woman Sher Xian did not answer this question. The blood-red python source spirit charged into the sky and turned into a blood mist that fell down like a waterfall. Roar! The Warhound's tribe expert Nualuo gave a loud warning. The two Warhounds experts that were fighting the dragon lizard tribe were immediately alerted. When they saw the blood mist falling down, their faces fell as they tried to run away. One of them was lucky enough to avoid the attack. The other person was not as lucky and the blood mist covered him. The Warhound's fur was covered in a layer of red as the strong blood poison entered his body. The Warhound's expert was very strong. Although old woman Sher Xian's blood poison entered his body, he was not immediately heavily injured. He used his spirit energy to block it. But at this time, the dragon lizard tribe suddenly attacked and a green light fell onto his body. Ao! The Warhound's expert gave a pitiful cry as his body was instantly torn to pieces. Old woman Sher Xian revealed a cold smile. She never thought that she would kill one this quickly. Chu Tian also had an excited look on the side. Fight, fight, it would be best if both sides were heavily injured or all three sides were heavily injured. The more strength these people lost, the more advantage they would have against Chu Tian. Chapter 282. The dragon lizard beast's intelligence was not high, but it had a strong sense of territory. Anyone that dared to intrude into its territory, whether it was a human or beast, would be killed. It did not consider why humans would kill each other. 3 warhounds experts had charged into the dragon lizard beast's territory and played around with the dragon lizard beast. Naturally, they had angered the violent dragon lizard beast, so they became its first target. Old woman Sher Xian's blood poison technique was a very sinister cultivation technique. When it suddenly attacked the warhound's expert, it would instantly ignite all the blood in the warhound's expert's body. However, the warhound's expert's strength was very high, so he used the warhound's secret technique and his spirit energy to resist the blood poison outside of his body. Who would have thought that at this moment the dragon lizard beast would suddenly launch a sneak attack? Taking advantage of the fact that he couldn't move, it instantly tore apart his body. Nuo Luo was naturally filled with rage. This was one of his most important subordinates and his most beloved general. He actually died here for no apparent reason. He had not obtained anything from this adventure and had suffered such a heavy loss. What's wrong? Are you angry? Sher Xian gave a cold laugh. This is the result of touching the Scarlet Moon's treasure. There were quite a few experts after the Scarlet Moon's treasure this time. With each one they killed, the threat of the head venerate would decrease. If the Scarlet Moon branch wanted to rise again, the head venerate's awakening was the most important guarantee. Otherwise, a single hall master like Sher Xian couldn't even topple a small southern summer country. How could they talk about restoring the glory of the heavenly demon warring kingdom? Damn humans! Completely enraged, Nuo Luo released all of his strength. His originally tall and sturdy body swelled up once more, even his robes were torn apart. His bulging muscles were like sand castles, filled with a shocking power. Old woman Sher Xian revealed a serious expression. The spirit beast cultivation technique was very different from the human cultivation technique. This fellow named Nuo Luo, was he finally prepared to go all out? Nuo Luo was in the peak 9th awakened soul layer and was a first-rate expert of the Warhound's plains. Even if this person met the Southern Summer 8 Marquises, as long as it wasn't the strongest one or two, the others would not be a problem. As for the 3 rulers of the Southern Summer country, they could not participate in this battle, so this was a 90% success mission. Who knew that this person's cultivation was a bit stronger than Nuo Luo's? What Nuo Luo could not accept the most was that the Warhound's plains was completely unfamiliar with this person. They did not know his cultivation technique or fighting style, there was no information at all. This person's cultivation level was probably close to that of the 3 sovereigns. However, due to some unknown reason, his strength had been greatly reduced, and he was unable to recover in a short period of time. How could such an expert appear out of nowhere? The beast spirit's brain wasn't that bright. If they could use their muscles to solve a problem, they would never use their brains. After Nuo Luo transformed, his hands came together and spirit energy surged out, forming an ancient totem-like source spirit behind him. When Chu Tian saw this special source spirit from afar, he couldn't help being slightly stunned. Even he couldn't tell what attribute this source spirit was. The heroic spirits of our ancestors. Come out. The totem light flashed a few times and 4-5 strands of spirit energy came out from it. Each strand of spirit energy gathered in the air, finally condensing into a spirit beast warrior wearing a set of armor and holding a 3-pointed, 2-edged blade in his hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was a total of 5. Each wolf soldier that was summoned did not have a physical body, but energy was released from Nuo Luo's totem source spirit. Nuo Luo stood in the middle with his 2 hands holding the blade, while the 5 spirit form wolf soldiers surrounded him, slowly moving around. Not simple. This totem source spirit's special ability was to summon spirit form warriors to help him fight. These 5 spirit form warriors were not as strong as the Warhounds tribe's peak expert Nuo Luo, but they were all in the 7th awakened soul layer. This meant that Nuo Luo was carrying 5 true soul realm experts with him. If it was just adding 5 initial true soul realm experts, sure Xian would not care about it. The most terrifying thing was that these 5 wolf soldiers were undying. Spirit form creatures were hard to kill, not to mention that these 5 wolf soldiers were summoned by his source spirit, so there was no meaning in killing them. As long as the source was not destroyed and Nuo Luo did not use up all his spirit energy, he could maintain these 5 warhound spirit soldiers to fight for him. These 5 spirit soldiers were completely controlled by Nuo Luo's consciousness, so their teamwork was flawless. The warhounds experts really did have some skills. Roar! Nuo Luo roared and sent out a strong shockwave towards Shirshin. Shirshin didn't dodge, instead launching a palm strike. Nuo Luo dashed to Shirshin as if he teleported. The moment he swung his pair of blades, the 5 spirit weapons spread out in all directions like his 5 fingers, holding sharp blades and attacking Shirshin in the middle. Sure Xian faced 6 attacks in an instant. The blood-red python quickly circled around her body, blocking the attacks of the 6 spirit soldiers. Old woman Sure Xian's scarlet-red hands directly used her flesh to block Nuo Luo's blade glow. Nuo Luo's face fell. Old woman Sure Xian's blood-red hands were quickly satisfied like a virus. Nuo Luo's blade glow was dyed red and her 2 skinny hands suddenly crushed it. The blade glow shattered like glass and large amounts of blade chi wildly shot back. This was not just Nuo Luo's blade chi, there was also old woman Sure Xian's blood poison, so it would be unimaginable if he was hit. Nuo Luo hurriedly pushed backwards. The 5 spirit weapons waved their long blades, and every blade chi that bounced back were all shattered when they got close to Nuo Luo. This exchange was still a draw and Sure Xian seemed to have the upper hand. Although she did not have her peak strength, her cultivation technique was still there. So against another peak 9th awakened soul layer expert, old woman Sure Xian still had the advantage. Nuo Luo found that it was harder to deal with than he had imagined. The other warhounds expert was still fighting the dragon lizard beast, so the current situation was a bit disadvantageous for the warhounds. Sure Xian coldly said, "A spirit beast only has this little skill?" Suddenly, a heaven-shaking roar rang out. Nuo Luo and Sure Xian, who were fighting, were startled, because a huge shadow flashed above their heads. It was a double-winged poison dragon, and beside it was a flying sedan that emitted a powerful aura. "It's another human expert." The expressions of the 2 warhounds experts fell. This old human fellow's strength was already strong enough to make them feel tired, not to mention the wild dragon lizard beast nearby. Now that another group of experts had joined the fight, the situation was very disadvantageous for them. Ha, 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 I never thought it would be this coincidental. Wang Tu stood on the winged poison dragon. "We actually met the famous warhound's spirit soldier general and the famous Tianma cult old woman Sure Xian, our luck isn't bad." They finally understood why the other side was this strong. It was actually a remnant of the Tianma cult and it had the position of a leader. Whether it was the southern summer country, the warhounds, or the Tianma cult, they were all common enemies. Of course they were all 3 sides, so they were all enemies. Only in the Scarlet Moon Divine Temple, there was an even stronger head venerate sleeping. Once the head venerate came out and worked together with this leader, the warhounds and southern Xia would fall into a bitter battle. "These people are a hindrance, how about we eliminate them here?" Zhuo Yan softly said, "We can peacefully search for treasures. What does Brother Wang think?" "I have this intention." Wang Tu and Zhuo Yan reached an agreement. The 2 of them immediately charged down and attacked both sides. Although their cultivations weren't as high as Sure Xian and Nuo Luo's, one of them had the flame palanquin, while the other had the powerful 2-winged flying dragon. Therefore, if they really fought, they wouldn't lose to them by too much. Old woman Sure Xian knew that she could not leave for a while, so she quickly used a secret sound transmission to send a message to Chu Tian beside her. "I'll stall them, you go and awaken the head venerate." "All right." After Chu Tian readily agreed, he broke into a run without a second thought. What kind of joke was this? 2 strong demon beasts and 5 peak true soul realm experts. Could the current Chu Tian interfere in this battle? Not long after Chu Tian left, the wolf race warrior Nuo Luo spoke to his companion beside him. He saw his companion suddenly use a cultivation technique and turn into a demon wolf, quickly chasing in the direction that Chu Tian left. Damn! Old woman Sher Xan wanted to make a move, but Nuo Luo blocked her with a blade. This was the dragon lizard beast attacking again, so old woman Sher Xan did not have a chance to chase. Wang Tu said, It seems like there are 2 fish that escaped the net. There's no need to care about them. Zhuo Yan softly said, this Tianma cult remnant saw that the situation was unfavorable, so they sent a normal disciple to awaken the head venerate. This person's strength is weak, so if that warhound's fellow chases after him, he will die without a doubt. Whether it was the Southern Summer experts or the warhound's experts, they all had a tacit understanding. The Scarlet Moon head venerate could not be awakened. This Tianma cult remnant clearly did not have many people left, so they sent a weak disciple. The warhounds were good at tracking, and with a 9th awakened soul layer warhounds expert chasing after them, that trivial 5th awakened soul layer fellow had no chance of surviving. As for the warhounds that escaped, forget it. It didn't matter. This Nuo Luo was very famous, so as long as they could kill him here, it would not be a problem for them to escape. Today, let me experience the power of the Tianma cult and the warhounds experts. Zhuo Yan sat in the flowing flame palanquin and emitted powerful yuan power that pierced through the clouds. Finally, a few sharp whistles came from the sky as 4 or 5 incomparably large fire meteors fell down at an extremely fast speed. Meteor Source Spirit. Zhuo Yan's abilities were a bit similar to Nangong Yi's. Nangong Yi's volcano source spirit had a destructive might that surpassed people of the same level, but it consumed a lot of energy and was slow. Zhuo Yan's source spirit was very similar to Nangong Yun's, his source spirit was a meteor. It had an extreme destructive might, but it had a very weak defense. However, Zhuo Yan had the flowing flame palanquin. This treasure could not be broken by an awakened soul cultivator, so Zhuo Yan was not afraid. Even if he faced experts like Nuo Luo or Sher Xian, he still had the confidence to fight. Wang Tu also swooped down and attacked. The dual-winged poison dragon strength was close to the 9th awakened soul layer, and Wang Tu was also in the 9th awakened soul layer. The man and beast working together was flawless, and their strength was enough to fight against a peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. After all, the winged dragon general's nickname was not for nothing. Hong! 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 The experts of the 3 sides began a fierce life and death battle. Chapter 283. A little snow-white fox landed on Chu Tian's shoulder. Its hands were crossed in front of its chest, proudly wagging its tail, looking like it wanted to take credit from Chu Tian. The 3 experts coincidentally meeting together was all because of the little fox. Relax. I'll remember this contribution. Chu Tian patted the little fox's head. Wait until we enter the Scarlet Blood Temple, I'll let you eat to your heart's content. The little fox revealed a grin and nodded in satisfaction. It had not wasted all this effort. Chu Tian seized every second that the 3 experts were fighting to enter the Scarlet Blood Temple first. As Chu Tian kept moving forward, he came closer and closer to the Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier. The Scarlet Blood Temple was surrounded by an incomparably large barrier. If one looked down from above, it would look like a toy inside a bubble. The surrounding mud had clear signs of being moved, and it looked very new. Chu Tian guessed that this incomparably large bubble-like sister had first sunk into the swamp and had recently floated up, bringing the Scarlet Blood Temple to the surface. This was also the reason why no one had found the temple in all these years. Chu Tian revealed a look of appreciation. This kind of design was hard to complete with human technology. This secret headquarters of the Tianma cult was most likely a ruin found during the Warring States period, but it was taken by the Tianma cult for their own use. Of course, Chu Tian was not an archaeologist. Who cared where it came from, he would go in and plunder it first. The entrance was in front of him. Chu Tian took out his token and charged forward with all his might. The little fox's hairs stood up as it cried out in alarm. Danger! Chu Tian was stunned. He did not even think about it as he suddenly jumped to the side. A beautiful axe glow flew out, brushing past Chu Tian and landing on the Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier. It was like a drop of water falling into a lake, creating a ripple, but it did not affect the Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier at all. There was a sneak attack. As Chu Tian turned around, he pulled out his source energy submachine gun. He didn't even look as he shot out a stream of light bullets. This Warhound's expert could not be compared to the Scarlet Blood Branch leaders from before. The Scarlet Blood Branch leaders were easily defeated mainly because they were heavily injured and they were poisoned by Chu Tian's poison, causing their cultivation bases to drop. It wasn't that easy now. The source energy spears shot out 7-8 energy bullets and the Warhound's expert was a bit surprised. Facing this kind of attack that he had never seen before, he reflexively slowed down his speed. Pa pa pa. Several energy bullets hit the Warhound's experts at the same time. Each energy bullet released a high temperature the moment it hit the other side, but it was blocked by the other side's protective spirit energy. Although this method of attack was unique, it was not too strong. Humph, it's just so. The Warhound's expert no longer had any worries as he raised his battle axe, preparing to split Chu Tian in half with a single strike. He did not notice that behind the countless bullets of light, there was a small dark red needle that directly pierced one of the Warhound's expert's eyes. "Ao!" The Warhound's expert cried out as he retreated. Chu Tian was still hit by a wave of energy and was thrown high into the air like a sack. He slammed into the barrier behind him and fell to the ground. His starlight immortal body was dim and he had suffered a certain degree of injury. Damn it! Ninth Awakened Soul Layer experts were truly strong. If he was a bit slower, Father would have already lost his life. The Warhound's expert covered his eye and retreated several steps. Large amounts of blood flowed out from his fingertips and it seemed like he was going blind for sure. The Warhound's expert angrily pulled out the red needle from his eye socket. He pinched it between his fingers and the thin needle instantly broke apart. The little fox angrily shouted out. Damn, this was one of this fox's treasures, but it was actually destroyed by this bastard. The little fox jumped in front of Chu Tian on the ground and angrily pulled on Chu Tian's clothes. Get up for this fox and kill him. Chu Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and glared at the little fox. Don't cause trouble. Can't you see that the one being beaten up is your master? The Warhound's expert only had one eye left. He angrily cursed in the spirit beast language several times, saying that this weak human only knew how to sneak attack. This weak fellow blinded me in one eye, this is simply a great shame. I must cut him into 8 pieces to vent my anger. Wait! Chu Tian stood up and shouted. The Warhound's expert really stopped because he was very surprised that this human was speaking in the spirit beast language. Chu Tian seriously said, before you kill me, can I say something else? The Warhound's expert's face sunk. Human, are you prepared to say your last words? No, what I want to say is. Chu Tian pointed a finger at the Warhound's expert, making the other side even more confused. When he was wondering if this human was playing with him, he heard the human say word for word, there is someone behind you. Damn, you want to trick me with this kind of trick? The Warhound's expert felt like he had been tricked. Die! The Warhound's expert raised his axe and prepared to chop the other side to death. Suddenly, a cold chill came from behind him and a terrifying fluctuation of spirit energy accompanied it. What? There really was someone. The Warhound's expert turned pale with fright and turned around, but it was too late. Several snowflakes turned into ice crystals and hit the Warhound's expert's chest like bullets. When that terrifying chill entered his body, it made him instantly feel like the blood in his veins had frozen. A black-clothed human girl covered in ice energy instantly charged in front of the Warhound's expert. Just based on this aura, the Warhound's expert could tell that this person was not weaker than him. Roar! The warhound's expert gave a loud roar and the large amounts of ice crystals covering his body were shaken off. The giant axe gathered a strong energy as it chopped down at the other side. However, it was still too slow. Chen Bingyu's palm struck the warhound's expert's chest. The warhound's expert's internal organs were all frozen and his ability to protect himself had fallen by a large amount. Now that he was hit by a wild palm, his internal organs were all shattered. With this kind of serious injury, it was almost impossible for him to survive. Chu Tian saw the warhound's expert fall to the ground and couldn't help shaking his head as he said with a sigh, "You see, this is the result of not believing in me. Human, do you think you've won? Wolf god, accept my sacrifice." The warhound's expert knew that he was going to die, so he immediately used all his strength to erupt. The warhound's expert's fur fell off and his body began to expand at an abnormal speed. It even changed shape, finally turning into a giant wolf dripping with blood. This was clearly a very extreme transformation technique. The warhound's expert used all his vitality and spirit energy to turn himself into an incomparably strong blood wolf. This transformation was irreversible and when it was completed, the warhound's expert had already lost consciousness. This was equal to a suicidal move. The blood wolf that was turned into was even stronger than the warhound's expert, reaching the peak 9th awakened soul layer. Chu Tian's expression slightly changed, "Be careful." The blood wolf did not have any thoughts, it only had hatred and killing intent. It did not differentiate friend from foe, attacking anyone it saw. Its battle strength was also very shocking. After it was summoned, it first charged at Chen Bingyu. Because Chen Bingyu was the strongest, she attracted the most attention and Chen Bingyu was the one that killed the warhound's expert. Once this blood wolf sacrifice technique was used, after the blood wolf was summoned, it would first attack the people that had injured the user. Too fast. Chen Bingyu felt her vision blur. The blood wolf spat out a hot red flame. Chen Bingyu condensed an ice wall to block the attack, but the high temperature caused by the flames instantly burned the ice wall until it cracked. Chen Bingyu was directly forced back a few steps. Before she could stand firm, the blood wolf pounced on her and bit her. When the blood wolf's attack was about to succeed, a little white fox appeared in front of it and stabbed at its remaining eye. The blood wolf was filled with rage as it sent out a claw, but the little white fox disappeared in a cloud of gray mist. When it appeared behind the blood wolf, it made a face at the blood wolf. The blood wolf did not have the ability to think and immediately turned around to bite. Chu Tian seized this chance to shout, "Quickly come in." Saying this, he held the scarlet blood token and charged into the barrier with a flash of light. Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun in the distance saw this and immediately took out their tokens. They charged into the barrier and with a flash of light, the two of them entered. "Fox, it's enough." The little fox passed by the right side of the blood wolf and bit a token from the blood wolf's body. It slammed into the barrier and with a flash of light, it smoothly entered. The blood wolf angrily slammed into the barrier, but without the scarlet blood token, it had no way of entering. Nangong Yun gave a laugh, "Truly an idiot. Come and bite me." The blood wolf slammed into the barrier again and again before finally exploding, turning into a pile of flesh and blood. "I'm afraid those people will be here soon." Chu Tian was too lazy to look at the blood wolf. "We don't have time to waste here, let's go in immediately." The 3 people and 1 fox entered the palace. The situation inside the palace made the 3 of them speechless. This was simply a library and a medicine store. The left side had rows of shelves filled with jade slips. The right side had rows of shelves filled with jade bottles. The jade slips had to have records of the Tianma cult's demonic cultivation technique. The things inside the bottles were definitely pills left behind by the Tianma cult. When they walked into the second floor of the palace, they found that the second floor was much smaller than the first floor. However, what made them excited was that the floor was filled with all kinds of gold, silver, and jewelry. The weapon racks were filled with all kinds of divine weapons. When Chu Tian opened a treasure chest, he saw a large piece of crystal clear. It was a special crystal stone that was divided according to a standard unit. Nan Gongyun asked in a strange voice, "Why are there only small pieces of crystal stones in this chest?" "Idiot, these are source stones." "Do you understand source stones?" Chu Tian looked at Nan Gongyun. "This is the common currency of the continent." This was source stones. Nan Gongyun was wild with joy. She never thought that there would be so many source stones here. This really was a small amount of wealth. These were all precious resources that the Scarlet Blood headquarters had sent over when they were facing destruction. They were prepared to rebuild the church, so the scale was naturally very shocking. Nan Gongyun pointed at the door in front of them and said, "There's another floor here." The first floor contained large amounts of pills and cultivation techniques. The second floor contained weapons, money, and materials. Then what would the third floor contain? No matter what, the first two floors were very large. This was simply a giant treasure that was worth tens of billions. This time they would truly earn a large profit. Chapter 284. The first floor was pills and cultivation techniques. The second floor was equipment, materials, and wealth. The third floor was the Scarlet Blood Temple's core area. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate was sleeping inside, so it was best if they didn't touch the third floor. Once the Scarlet Blood head Venerate was awakened, the three of them wouldn't have the chance to plunder anything. "We'll go back to the first floor." Looking at the blue pill bottles and the small mountain of secret techniques and cultivation techniques, the three of them revealed looks of excitement. They were going to make a large profit this time. Nan Gongyun found a large bag and swept several bottles of pills into it. "Idiot, these are all recovery and support type pills. It was hard for us to come in, so if we bring these kinds of pills out, wouldn't it be a huge loss?" Chu Tian impolitely reprimanded Nan Gongyun. "I told you to read more books, but you can't even be a thief at a critical moment." Nan Gongyun said in a depressed voice, "Can boss scold me when we go back? Every second is worth its weight in gold." Chu Tian pointed at the pill shelves and said, "Here, here, and here, they are all spirit-grade pills, with a small portion being sacred-grade pills. Without an exception, they are all used to increase one's cultivation base. Move faster and store as many as you can, but if you can't store them all, then just eat them. Eating one more is a profit. Then I won't be polite." Nan Gongyun gave 3 excited laughs. This old lady has never felt this good in her life. "I want to properly enjoy myself today." The little fox did not need Chu Tian to say anything before it moved. This fellow jumped onto the shelves and swallowed the jade bottles into its stomach, sweeping over several hundred bottles of pills. How could they continue with this speed? How could Chu Tian lose to this damn fox? Chu Tian picked up the limitless gourd and began to fill it up. The limitless gourd began to fill up the gourd, and in just a few seconds, it had filled several rows of precious pills. Nan Gongyun and Chen Bingyu were filled with envy, but it was a pity that things with spatial storage abilities were priceless treasures in southern Xia. It was said that the 3 rulers and the king only had 1 or 2, so they didn't even dare think about it. What should they do when the large bags they prepared were already filled? Eat. Chu Tian pointed at some pills and said, "These are semi-sage pills refined from 10,000-year-old chalcedony. The main function of 10,000-year-old chalcedony is to improve one's foundation and strengthen one's physique. The energy it contains is not huge and is relatively mild. You can eat it without worry." Chu Tian picked up a bottle of medicinal pills and poured out 5 or 6 of them. They were like white jade pills, and each pill emitted an alluring aura. He didn't even look at it before stuffing it into his mouth. 5 or 6 white jade marrow pills melted as soon as they entered his mouth. A few clear streams of energy flowed into his abdomen and immediately flowed to every part of his body. It was as if the energy could seep into his bones, making him feel as if he was walking on air. Nan Gongyun and Chen Bingyu hurriedly opened a few bottles and poured them all into their mouths. Chu Tian pointed out another type of pill. "These are level 3 spirit pills, Nan Gongyun, and I can't take them, but Sister Bing, you can take them, they are very helpful for breaking through to the next realm. A level 3 spirit pill. It was refined from level 3 elixirs. The alchemist himself must also possess the corresponding strength. This kind of pill was very rare in southern Xia. Only the heavenly demon warring kingdom could store large amounts of this kind of pill. Chen Bingyu opened a few bottles and poured out dark golden pills. Each pill was covered in intricate pill patterns and contained a powerful energy that pulsed like a heart. Such a strong energy fluctuation. The spirit pills were refined from spiritual grade materials. The quality of the energy in a level 3 spirit pill could not compare to a level 2 sacred pill, but in terms of quantity, it surpassed a level 2 sacred pill. Chen Bingyu took this many level 3 spirit pills at once and she suddenly felt like her body was on fire. Under the fierce impact of the spirit qi, the layer of incomparably firm bottleneck had already begun to show traces of cracks. The higher one's cultivation base was, the harder it was to increase it. Now that there were signs of a breakthrough, how could she not be happy? Chen Bingyu was already in the 9th awakened soul layer. If she could take another step forward, she would become a strong existence comparable to the southern summer 8 marquises. Nan Gongyun took quite a few pills at once. There were many half-step sacred grade and even sacred grade pills. I really can't take it anymore, I'm about to explode. I can't eat anymore. Chu Tian had already eaten to his limit. Although the pills of this era were crude, with such a large amount in his stomach, it was still very impressive. Chu Tian felt that as long as he had a few more days, he would be able to reach the peak 5th awakened soul layer. As for the little fox, this fellow had taken a third of the pills. It was still wildly sweeping through them at a shocking speed. This fellow's appetite was very terrifying, it was like the space inside was endless. But this was also a good thing. The little fox had a large amount of pills in its body and it couldn't digest them all. Once they arrived in Imperial City, they would have to extort it and make it obediently spit out a portion. Let's go. We're going to the 2nd floor now. The 3 of them almost had their stomachs split open. Now that they were on the 2nd floor, they could only stare at the large amount of materials. Chu Tian didn't have much space in his gourd, so he could only take a bit. There are actually starlight stones here. Chu Tian found several large pieces of starlight stones. Naturally he had to take the good materials to cultivate the starlight immortal body since it didn't take up too much space anyway. It's blood-in steel. Chu Tian opened a small treasure chest that contained several neatly arranged metal ingots. They were a strange bright red color, and their surfaces were filled with naturally formed patterns that emitted a faint baleful aura. Nan Gongyun immediately asked, "What is this blood-in steel? Do you know about the little fox's needle?" "Of course I know. That needle can ignore protective spirit energy." Nan Gongyun thought of something and revealed a look of wild joy. Hey, don't tell me, these are all." Chu Tian nodded, the little fox's blood-in steel is actually made from level 2 blood-in steel and these ingots are also level 2 blood-in steel. I never thought that there would be this many. Nan Gongyun was stunned, then wouldn't it be possible to refine over 1,000 needles that can ignore defenses? Chu Tian opened several similar treasure chests and found that they were all level 2 blood-in steel. He also revealed an excited look, it's even more than enough to make a weapon. This kind of weapon that could ignore spirit energy defenses, just thinking about it was very shocking. Of course, the blood-in steel was not perfect, it could only ignore energy. The blood-in steel itself was only a normal level 2 material. If the opponent was wearing a high-quality armor, even if it could pierce through protective spirit energy, it would not necessarily be able to tear through the armor. Chu Tian had a new idea. With this kind of large amount of blood-in steel, if it was made into special bullets, the effect would be very good. First he needed to design a new type of gun that could fire bullets. Through spirit energy, the blood-in steel bullets could be shot out and the bullets could be engraved with armor-piercing effects. Then it would be a divine weapon that could kill awakened soul realm experts. Chu Tian poured out the blood-eaten steel and placed it all into the gourd space. Then he looked for other useful materials. It had to be said that the heavenly demon cult was very rich. The Scarlet Blood branch was just a branch, and this Scarlet Blood temple was a temporary refuge, so the things that were transferred here should only be a small portion of what they had. Even so, it was enough to create a large treasure trove in southern Xia. There were several dozen chests of source stones here. Chu Tian estimated that there were at least several million source stones, but the quality was not very good. Most of them were low-grade source stones. It was a pity that source stones took up too much space. Although this was the common currency of the continent, taking up space in the gourd for a bit of money was not worth it for Chu Tian. "Are you guys done?" When Nangong Yun appeared in front of him, it really gave Chu Tian a fright. This fellow was wearing a gold-threaded vest, a blood-red armor on the outside, and a large red cloak on the outermost layer. His 10 snow-white fingers were full of rings, and his snow-white wrists were wrapped with 7 to 8 bracelets. He wore 4 to 5 necklaces around his neck, and a long spear, halberd, and sword were strapped to his back. He even wore 3 layers of boots. Chu Tian was speechless. "You're too exaggerated." "Nonsense." Nangong Yun's body trembled as she spoke. "Do you know how much this equipment is worth?" Chu Tian looked at Chen Bingyu on the side. He never thought that the indifferent her would act like a nouveau riche at this moment. This really was a woman's nature. Take the good ones, don't be greedy." Chu Tian awkwardly coughed a few times. "We don't lack this bit of money. If people saw this, they would think that I can't support you guys." "Who wants you to support us? Hurry up and take it." Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun were very exaggerated, but the equipment they took were all high-grade soul weapons. These things had a strong amplification effect on their strength. Chu Tian lit his mind's lamp and carefully scanned the equipment. His divine sense scanned all the materials and equipment. "This cloak is not bad." Chu Tian walked to a corner and picked up a normal-looking cloak. "This is a top-grade soul weapon." Chen Bingyu coldly said, "I also took a few top-grade soul weapons, it's nothing special." Chen Bingyu had already opened her mind's eye, so she could use her divine sense to scan, so naturally she could find high-quality equipment. Who would have thought that Chu Tian would disdainfully say, "Even if they are both top-grade soul weapons, compared to them, yours is far inferior." Chen Bingyu raised her eyebrows as if she was not convinced. Chu Tian smiled at her and put on the cloak that covered their faces. His entire body suddenly disappeared. Chen Bingyu gave a snort. "What kind of function is it? Isn't it just invisibility?" "Mind's eye." Chen Bingyu suddenly opened her mind's eye. This made Chen Bingyu surprised. Using her mind's eye, she could not find any trace of Chu Tian. At this time, a hand came from behind her and placed it on Chen Bingyu's shoulder. She saw Chu Tian's cheap smile gradually appear. "How is it?" "Although this cloak does not increase your battle strength, it has the ability to block out divine sense. This is one of the few functions. This cloak could block the detection of divine senses. It was almost an excellent stealthy weapon." Of course, this cloak could block out Chen Bingyu's divine sense from the mind's eye, but for Chu Tian, who could already light his mind's lamp, even if someone wore a cloak, he would still be able to detect them. The mind's lamp realm's divine sense was much higher than the mind's eye. Chu Tian searched for a few more treasures. At this time, outside the Scarlet Blood Temple, there were several explosions. Those fellows were about to enter. "We're entering the 3rd floor." Chapter 285. When they stood at the entrance to the 3rd floor of the Scarlet Blood Temple, they felt a strong pressure coming at them. Even before they entered, they could already smell the thick smell of blood. Behind this giant door was a sea of blood. As long as the door was pushed open, blood would wildly pour in. Chu Tian looked at the 2 girls. "Prepare yourselves, I'm about to open." Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun nodded. They were all prepared. Chu Tian suddenly used his strength to push open the giant metal door. Suddenly, a scarlet light shrouded them, and the three of them simultaneously felt their bodies tremble. The back of the door was filled with blood-red evil spirits. That densely packed scene almost filled the entire hall. Nangong Yun was shocked. This is bad, there's an ambush. Why were there so many monsters? When Nangong Yun was about to attack with her hammer, a divine sense suddenly entered Nangong Yun's mind. Nangong Yun felt the scene in front of her blur as countless blood-red evil spirits disappeared from her sight. What happened just now? It was just an illusion, a small trick. Chu Tian did not care about it at all. Not to mention his mind's lamp, divine sense, it was enough to see through most illusions. Just the innate talent of his main source spirit was enough for Chu Tian to not fear any illusion attacks. Of course the mind's lamp could affect the surrounding people. So Chu Tian could help Chen Bingyu and Nangong Yun break the illusion in time. The third floor of the Blood Temple was not as big as the first two floors and it did not have mountains of treasures. There were only a few fierce and silent statues with a stone platform in the center. There was a 30-centimeter tall scarlet object placed on top of it. The object was covered in scarlet veined patterns, and strands of blood-like veined patterns wrapped around it. An extremely powerful energy aura emanated from the object, giving off a strong sense of oppression. If their guesses weren't wrong, the thick smell of blood in the air and the feeling they had when they first entered were all caused by this object. It's exactly the same as the illustration. Nangong Yun revealed a look of pleasant surprise. This is the scarlet blood sacred object, the blood chalice. The three of them were certain that the holy blood grail that Chu Tian was looking for was precisely this thing in front of them. This blood chalice was the most important sacred object of the scarlet blood branch, so it wasn't strange for it to have all kinds of mysterious abilities. Nangong Yun excitedly said, I bet that this is at least a soul-contracting artifact. Chu Tian rolled his eyes at him. Can you stop talking nonsense? Nangong Yun was indignant. Was this nonsense? Soul-linking artifacts were rare. Chu Tian's soul-contracting weapons, including the Netherworld sword and the soul-controlling bell, were all taken from the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb. The origin of this tomb of 10,000 corpses could not be verified. The only thing that could be confirmed was that the sect that established the tomb of 10,000 corpses was probably stronger than the Tianma cult. That was why there were a large number of soul-connected artifacts in the 10,000 corpses ancient tomb. Even after tens of thousands of years of regular excavation, there were still some remnants. Fox-faced corpse king. There was also the little fox. Weren't they all from the 10,000 corpses ancient tomb? That ancient sect had already disappeared for tens of thousands of years. The Tianma cult was a sect that had been destroyed for several hundred years. The Tianma cult did not have as many soul-contracting artifacts as the sects in the Yin Corpse Valley, but each branch would have at least one soul-contracting artifact as a sacred object. The might of this blood chalice was not inferior to the Netherworld sword by much, it might even be stronger. It was not that the blood chalice was of a higher quality than the Netherworld sword. The blood chalice had only been sealed for several hundred years, so its strength had not decreased that much. The Netherworld sword had been asleep for at least 10,000 years, the two were completely different concepts. Nangong Yun charged over, I'll bring it over. The blood chalice was the Scarlet Blood Branch's most important treasure. Now that everything had been plundered, once they took the blood chalice, everyone could escape. Wait! Chu Tian quickly stopped Nangong Yun. Nangong Yun knit her brows and asked, what are you doing? The soul-contracting artifact is right in front of us, how could we not take it? Nangong, I have to criticize you again. If you don't use your brain for a long time, it will rust. Nangong Yun was so angry that her teeth itched. When did this old lady not use her brain? Can't you see? The blood chalice has already recognized a master, so even if we take it away, as long as the blood chalice doesn't cancel its master, we won't be able to control its power. Most soul-contracting artifacts had simple thoughts, so they would choose a master that suited them. Back in the 10,000 corpse ancient tomb, the Yin Wind swordsman Wan Wui had tried to steal the Thunder Spirit bead, but he had been injured by the Thunder Spirit bead. Chu Tian had no way of using the Thunder Spirit bead, mainly because the artifact's spirit was resisting. This was an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage was that once a soul-contracting artifact recognized a master, unless the master found a way to separate it, the soul-contracting artifact would not choose another master until the master died. The disadvantage was that if one obtained a soul-contracting artifact with a strong mind, if one's attribute or cultivation technique was not suitable, it would automatically be rejected by the soul-contracting artifact. Then what should we do? Don't be anxious. Chu Tian opened his mind's eye and carefully observed the chalice. There is a large array in the main hall and the chalice is the core of the array. If we take it away, the array will immediately activate. If the array is activated, it will form a power that will awaken the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate. Ah! Nangong Yun revealed an awkward expression. What should we do? In other words, it's impossible for us to take the blood chalice? This was indeed a troublesome matter. A precious treasure was right in front of them. If they couldn't take it away, it would be a huge regret for this mission. Hung long long. The Scarlet Blood Temple's outer barrier began to violently shake. Chen Bingyu reminded them, someone is coming in. There's no other way and no time. Nangong Yun shouted at Chu Tian, our harvest is large enough, let's retreat now. If they come in and see the situation inside, they will definitely go crazy. Isn't it just a broken chalice? It's fine if we can't take it. The first 2 floors of the Scarlet Blood Temple had been mostly emptied by the 3 people and 1 fox, especially the precious pills and materials. Now all that was left were useless cultivation techniques, cheap pills, and normal materials. These people that came to search for treasures were not ordinary people. If they saw this situation, they would definitely go crazy. Take the stealth talismans and leave first. Chu Tian took out several talismans and gave them to the 2 of them. Wait outside, I'll take care of this. Can you take care of it? Let's go. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu had to choose to believe in Chu Tian. The 2 of them activated the stealth talismans and left the Scarlet Blood Temple. These stealth talismans could not hide from divine sense, but in a situation where the other side did not know, using the stealth talismans was enough to safely leave. A violent explosion came from the first floor of the main hall. A wild strength was released and the pill bottles and jade slips fell to the ground. Chu Tian felt that there was not much time left. He took a deep breath and grabbed the blood chalice, raising it high up. A scarlet light suddenly illuminated the entire main hall. Large amounts of complex lines appeared on the floor and intertwined with each other, finally forming a large source energy array. The Scarlet Blood Temple began to tremble. The source energy array turned red, as if it was connected to a world of blood. Large amounts of red lightning flashed around it and gradually, a blood-red stone coffin slowly rose up. An ancient and majestic pressure enveloped it and a power that made one's hair stand on end filled the entire space. Chu Tian was sent flying and slammed into the wall. The blood chalice left his hand and automatically flew towards the sarcophagus. When it landed on the top of the sarcophagus, it suddenly tilted several dozen degrees and a thick red liquid poured from the chalice onto the sarcophagus. This red liquid quickly spread across the sarcophagus and finally seeped into the cracks of the sarcophagus, where it was completely absorbed. Fuck! The blood chalice was restoring the head venerate's strength. At this time, the Scarlet Blood Temple violently shook again. This little one is a disciple of the Tianma cult, welcoming the return of the head venerate. Chu Tian quickly charged at the sarcophagus and shouted in a sorrowful voice, I ask Sir Head Venerate to come out as soon as possible. All the branch lords have died in battle and only the leader is left to protect the head venerate. Now he is surrounded by experts from all sides and is on the verge of death. My Scarlet Blood branch is about to be extinguished. What did you say? A voice came from the sarcophagus. This voice sounded very twisted, like it was male or female. It was sharp and strange, like a child's voice, but it also had a sinister feeling to it. Sir Head Venerate, there are several thieves coveting the scarlet blood treasure in the outer hall. Hong! The blood-red sarcophagus lid was suddenly opened. A red figure flew out. Chu Tian raised his head to take a look and his eyes widened. This head venerate was only around 3 feet tall and had the appearance of a child. His skin was as red as blood and his fingernails were as sharp as blades. He was a monstrous monster. A person with a strange appearance must have a special ability. This head venerate looked this strange, his methods must not be simple. The Scarlet Blood branch is one of the 10 great inheritances of the Tianma cult, but it has actually fallen to this point. This childlike Scarlet Blood head venerate roared into the sky. That voice was even sharper than a sword, creating cracks in the floor. Chu Tian felt his heart skip a few beats. Offending my Scarlet Blood, die. The Scarlet Blood head venerate grabbed the blood chalice floating in the air and like it had no weight or resistance, he shot out into the outer hall. So fast. Chu Tian was secretly shocked. The Scarlet Blood head venerate was not inferior to a peak 9th awakened soul layer cultivator. This recovery speed was just too shocking. Of course this was due to the blood chalice, but it was a good thing that Chu Tian had angered the Scarlet Blood head venerate, so he did not have time to recover his strength. Very good. Now it all depends on luck. Chu Tian raised the cloak he had just obtained to cover his body. He instantly turned into nothingness and disappeared on the spot. At this time, Wang Tu, Zhua Yan, the 2 Warhounds experts, and the Scarlet Blood leader Shi Xian, the 5 of them charged into the Scarlet Blood temple at the same time. Only the scene in front of them made them stunned. There were only a few of the thousands of pills. A large pile of empty bottles rolled on the ground. What was going on? Where was the Scarlet Blood treasure? The 5 experts were all stunned. A terrifying aura came from the inner hall. Actually, the Warhounds Noa Luo, Wang Tu, and Zhua Yan could all feel it. An unprecedented sense of danger enveloped them. There was no need to say it. The Scarlet Blood head venerate had awakened. The Scarlet Blood old monster has awakened. Damn, was the Scarlet Blood treasure a trap? Everyone's lungs were about to explode from anger. They had taken the risk to search for treasures, but not only did they not see any precious treasures, they even had to fight with an old monster like the Scarlet Blood head venerate. Shi Xian gave a cruel laugh. The head venerate has appeared, you should prepare to die. Although she did not know what was going on, the most important thing was to kill these intruders. The Scarlet Blood old monster is the common enemy of the Southern Summer and the Warhounds. Wang Tu said to the Warhounds Noa Luo, we should put down our grudges and deal with this old monster together. Alright. Noa Luo also had this intention. Chapter 286. When faced with the pressure of the head venerate's revival, the Southern Summer experts chose to form a temporary alliance with the Warhounds experts. Kill this old thing first. Wang Tu, Zhua Yan, and Noa Luo, the 3 experts attacked together. The Scarlet Blood leader Shi Xian could not fight 3 people at once, so he was instantly sent flying and was heavily injured. However, the 3 of them did not have time to make a move before this demon was killed. Inside the main hall, a bloody wind suddenly blew. A red silhouette suddenly descended on top of everyone's head at an extremely fast speed. Blood-red energy condensed above everyone's head like a red cloud. Countless blood energy condensed into fine needles, suddenly raining down on the 3 of them. It's only this much. Zhua Yan controlled the flowing flame palanquin to meet it. When the strong energy needles fell on the flowing flame palanquin, they were all deflected and the flowing flame palanquin did not seem to be damaged at all. Wang Tu and Noa Luo saw this and quickly hid behind the flowing flame palanquin. After fighting for a long time, they had already used up half their spirit energy, so they had to control their consumption and save every bit of energy. Only like this could they deal with the Scarlet Blood head venerate. Countless red clouds condensed and the energy density increased by several dozen times. Finally it turned into the shape of a fist that slammed into the flowing flame palanquin. This ancient treasure was sent flying like a meteor. Most of the outer walls of the temple collapsed, revealing the faint red sky outside. Damn! Zhuo Yan felt several cracks appear on the flowing flame palanquin. This treasure was given to him by the Nangong family and Zhuo Yan had never been damaged since he obtained it. He never thought that a single attack from the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate would be able to cause this much damage. The Head Venerate's 3-foot-tall body floated in the air and slowly floated out of the blood clouds. That blood-red energy continued to change behind him, finally turning into an incomparably large dark red skeleton. Nuo Luo released 5 spirit weapons. The 5 spirit weapons formed from wolf soldiers held long blades that came out of Nuo Luo's body, stabbing at the Head Venerate from different directions. The Head Venerate did not move at all. The spirit weapon blades stabbed into the skeleton, but they were blocked, unable to pierce through at all. Scarlet flames began to spread from the blades and the 5 spirit weapons were ignited, instantly turning to ashes. Nuo Luo's expression changed. This giant dark red skeleton should be the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate's source spirit. He never thought it would be this strong. It could break the flowing flame palanquin with a single punch and it could cover its entire body. It was comparable to a top-grade defensive cultivation technique. He had both offense and defense, and he had the Blood Saint Cup in his hand, which allowed him to continuously recover his energy. His elemental energy was inexhaustible, and he was practically invincible. Moreover, the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate had just awakened, so as time passed, he would become stronger and stronger, finally reaching the point where awakened soul cultivators could not defeat him, so the situation was very serious. Sher Xian excitedly shouted, "Greetings, Head Venerate." "Sher Xian, what's going on?" When the Head Venerate's eyes swept over the Scarlet Blood Temple that had been ransacked, his eyes seemed like they were about to spit out flames. Who did this? Old woman Sher Xian was taken aback. She didn't realize it until now. That's right, who was it that ransacked the Scarlet Blood Temple? This divine temple had been submerged in a poisonous swamp several hundred meters deep for a long time, so it was impossible for anyone to enter the divine temple before it opened. They had entered at almost the same time. Could it be, the ones that entered the divine temple were only Ling Feng and the Warhound's experts? The Head Venerate had already been released, which meant that the Warhound's experts had failed and Ling Feng was definitely in the divine temple. Although they didn't know how all of this happened, the most suspicious person was actually the most unremarkable Ling Feng. Nuo Luo sniffed the air. There are at least 3 people's scents. Damn! Wang Tu said through gritted teeth, someone took advantage of us fighting and actually snuck in to ransack us. This is simply unforgivable. Sher Xian shouted with a dark face, "Ling Feng, this one knows you're here. Quickly scram out for me." There was not a single sound coming from inside or outside the main hall. The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate was a bit stunned. Could it be that the person who ransacked the Scarlet Blood Temple was the person who had just woken him up? If it was like this, then this person must still be in the temple. Mind's eye. The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate opened his mind's eye to investigate. In the end, what made the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate in disbelief was that this brat had disappeared into thin air. Shadow Cloak. It's the Shadow Cloak. He stole the Shadow Cloak. Everything that happened here was done by him. The Head Venerate was naturally filled with rage. The Scarlet Blood Temple had been ransacked and they had lost at least several tens of billions of Southern Xia gold coins. Those high-grade soul weapons, top-grade soul weapons, sacred medicines, sacred pills, and top-grade materials, which one of them wasn't an expensive thing. This was the starting resource for Tianma cult's revival. Sher Xian. The Head Venerate slapped out and Sher Xian was sent flying into the wall. She was already heavily injured and now she was even more injured. She did not dare resist the Head Venerate's attack. "Look at what you've done." Old woman Sher Xian spat out a few mouthfuls of blood and kneeled on the ground in a very sorry state. "Sir Head Venerate, please spare me. I have a way to find him." After saying this, she took out a scroll. If you don't appear, I'll shatter your mind. The Scarlet Blood Temple was silent and there was still no movement. Old woman Sher Xian saw that things had reached this point and could only make up her mind. Spirit energy wildly surged out and the spiritual contract scroll was instantly torn apart. There was no change at all. Old woman Sher Xian was stunned once again. Just what was going on here? Through the contract scroll, she could feel that Ling Feng was hiding nearby and was even secretly watching them. He was just using the shadow cloak to hide himself. Wang Tu, Zui Yan, and Nua Luo saw this and were filled with grief and indignation. Wang Tu coldly said, since 7-8 of the Scarlet Blood Temple's treasures have been stolen, it's not worth risking our lives. Let's retreat. That's what I was thinking. Zui Yan's heart ached for the flowing flame palanquin. They had suffered a great loss in this treasure hunt. Now in the Scarlet Blood Temple, although there were still a large amount of cultivation techniques and materials, the high-quality ones had all been picked out. Although the remaining ones were very valuable, to people with their status, it was not worth it to fight with the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate for these things. Want to leave? You think you can leave? The Head Venerate was already filled with rage. He raised the blood chalice high up and his spirit energy surged out like a wave. The outer wall of the temple collapsed and the three of them were pushed outside. Old thief, since you won't rest until you die, then we'll fight you to the end. Wang Tu gave a roar and the dual-winged poison dragon fell in with a scarlet blood token in its hand. It broke through the blood-red barrier and its poison tail flew out like a hurricane. Scram! The Head Venerate's source spirit swept out with a palm and grabbed the dual-winged poison dragon's tail. The dual-winged poison dragon was shocked and spat out a poison flame from its mouth. The poison flame was useless against the Head Venerate as it was completely blocked by the source spirit. The Head Venerate gave an explosive roar. The dual-winged poison dragon was thrown to the ground heavily. The blood chalice burst forth with a beam of red energy, which was completely infused into the other arm of the skeleton. The energy condensed into a bright red spear, which ruthlessly stabbed at the dual-winged poison dragon. No! Wang Tu shouted with red eyes. The blood-red spear pierced through the dual-winged poison dragon's body and forcefully nailed it to the ground. The dual-winged poison dragon howled and struggled as the blood poison quickly spread through its body through the wound, causing its skin to turn red and soft bit by bit. Finally, it gradually melted into pus and blood. The Head Venerate released his strength once again. The spear in the skeleton's hand turned into a large bow and an arrow, instantly shooting at Zui Yan who was preparing to escape. The flowing flame palanquin was already cracked and now with this heavy injury, it could no longer take it and a large hole appeared in it. Zui Yan had no choice but to jump out and escape from the flowing flame palanquin, avoiding being killed by the arrow. The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate's strength surpassed a normal peak 9th awakened soul layer expert. Now that he had the soul-contracting weapon, the blood chalice, it was not something an awakened soul realm expert could resist. Nua Luo did not have any good feelings towards the southern Xia people, so how could he save them? He immediately put away his blades and charged out. The Head Venerate pointed in the air. A strong secret technique was used and spirit energy exploded out, instantly catching up to Nua Luo. When Nua Luo was about to charge out of the temple, it shattered his protective spirit energy and entered his body. Nua Luo spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not stop and used this energy to increase his speed, finally escaping the Scarlet Blood Temple. Wang Tu saw the dual-winged poison dragon's body turn into thick blood and gradually stop struggling, knowing that his mount could not be saved. He gritted his teeth as he took out a jade talisman and slammed it into the ground. With a large explosion sound, an incomparably thick layer of dirt rose up, blocking them. Let's go. Wang Tu and Zui Yan flew away. The Head Venerate's giant blade slashed down and the dirt barrier shattered. When he was prepared to chase after the two of them, his body suddenly swayed and he almost fell from the sky. Damn! He had consumed too much spirit energy. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate had just woken up and could not use his weakened state, so he could not control himself and used too much spirit energy. Although he had the blood chalice in his hand and his strength would quickly recover, giving the other side a few seconds was enough for the two of them to escape. Wang Tu and Zhua Yan ran away in a sorry state. Old woman Shi Xian had a dark expression as she felt very nervous. The Scarlet Blood had suffered heavy losses this time and she had a large responsibility. But, she could not imagine why that brat was a spy. But, just where was he hiding? Why was there a spiritual contract? Are you looking for us? A familiar voice sounded in old woman Shi Xian's ears and her expression instantly changed. But what followed was a dense rain of light bullets that fell onto old woman Shi Xian's body. Despicable. I'll kill you. Old woman Shi Xian was instantly injured by the source energy spears and her protective spirit energy dimmed once again. When she raised her right hand to attack, a cold aura came from the left and a palm slammed into the back of old woman Shi Xian's head. Pang! Old woman Shi Xian's head exploded and turned into countless ice shards that fell to the ground. This illustrious Tianma cult's hall master finally died here with hatred in her heart. Ah! The head venerate found traces of these people, but because his spirit energy was exhausted, he could not stop them in time. Old woman Shi Xian was killed in front of him and he could only let out a sharp roar. Chu Tian walked out with Nangong Yun by his side. Chen Bingyu came forward and took on a battle stance. The Tianma cult is famous throughout the world, but it was actually played by you juniors. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's face turned dark. But do you really think you can deal with this venerate with just you? Wishful thinking. Don't be too confident. If I didn't have a bit of confidence, how could I have let you out? Chu Tian gave the little fox a look and the little fox suddenly sucked in a breath. The energy from the blood chalice was immediately drawn over and swallowed by the little fox. What? The head venerate's face fell. What kind of spirit beast is this? It can actually absorb the chalice's energy. Don't be so shocked yet. Little fox, it's up to you. The little fox spat out a soul puppet and its dark eyes revealed a look of pain. This was the last time it would summon the Hellfire Demon. A green light soared into the sky. An incomparably large burning giant appeared in front of the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate. Chapter 287. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was not a simple person. Since it was released, naturally he had to take care of it. This was Chu Tian's principle. Otherwise, if the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate developed his influence in Southern Summer, it would be a large hidden danger in the future. Not to mention the countless Southern Summer citizens that would be implicated, miracle commerce would not be affected in the end. If he didn't remove the roots, there would be endless troubles in the future. Move! Chu Tian ordered. The little fox jumped onto the Hellfire Demon's head. Under the little fox's orders, the Hellfire Demon charged at the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate with large steps. Chu Tian's confidence was not without reason. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was a bit stronger than the Hellfire Demon, but with the little fox on the side, not only could it weaken the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate's demonic art, it could also stop the Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate from using the blood chalice to recover. The Scarlet Bloodhead Venerate was very weak right now. This was the best time to eliminate it. Chen Bingyu did not need to make a move, her task was to protect Chu Tian and Nangong Yun. This was because while they were fighting, it was hard to guarantee that the head venerate wouldn't suddenly attack Chu Tian. Chen Bingyu was naturally not the head venerate's match. But she still had the ability to block it once or twice. After all, Chen Bingyu cultivated the Starlight Immortal body and her own strength was very strong. Dong, dong, dong. The Hellfire Demon charged at the head venerate and a giant flaming fist slammed forward. The head venerate's short body floated in the air and the scarlet skull silhouette shrouded it. That skull also raised a fist and collided head-on with the Hellfire Demon's fist. A large sound rang out. The Hellfire Demon's green abyss flame and the Scarlet Skull's blood energy collided at the same time, creating a sizzling sound like water and fire mixing together. The head Venerate's blood energy was very corrosive, so it had a large advantage against normal cultivators. However, the Hellfire Demon was an elemental life form, it did not have a body of flesh and blood. The head Venerate's strength had a very limited effect on the Hellfire Demon, but the green abyss flame could evaporate the blood energy. So from this point, the Hellfire Demon's strength could restrain the Scarlet Blood head Venerate. Both sides took a step back. The little fox urged the Hellfire Demon to attack again. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate condensed a giant spear that stabbed at the Hellfire Demon. The Hellfire Demon was not afraid in the slightest. His right fist ignited with flames as he punched towards the skeleton. At this time, the little fox suddenly stood up and took a deep breath. When the blood skeleton's spear was about to pierce the hellfire, it was suddenly torn apart by an external force. It wasn't just this condensed weapon. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate felt his demonic cultivation technique weaken by at least 30%. Damn it! What was going on? This was an unheard of spirit beast, but its abilities were beyond imagination. It was the bane of devil cultivators. The little fox seemed like it could easily break through any demonic cultivation technique, and there was nothing fancy about it. It was a simple and barbaric method of breaking through, directly taking away the opponent's energy. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate wanted to stop, but it was already too late. The Hellfire Demon gathered a powerful fist and slammed into the Scarlet Blood head Venerate's body. A giant hole was created in the blood skeleton and the wild energy fell onto the Scarlet Blood head Venerate, making him feel like his flesh and bones were being crushed. He spat out a mouthful of demonic blood and was sent flying several dozen meters away. Nangong Yun loudly praised, "Little fox. Beautifully done. Beat this demon to death." The little fox proudly wagged its tail and quickly urged the Hellfire Demon to charge forward. It raised its thick right foot to stomp down on the Scarlet Blood head Venerate. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate used both hands to block it. That incomparably large pressure was like a mountain, making the Scarlet Blood head Venerate feel powerless. This monster was too strong. If they continued to fight, the situation would not be good. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate's power forced the Hellfire Demon back a few steps. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate activated the Blood Chalice, trying to use it to recover his spirit energy. How could the little fox give him this chance? Come over for this, fox. The little fox forcefully sucked in. The energy from the Blood Chalice was all stolen and sucked into the little fellow's mouth. It even licked its lips a few times, looking like it had an endless aftertaste. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate was simply going crazy with anger. These weak and lowly people could force him to this point. If he was at his peak, these small characters would not have been placed in his eyes at all. Die! The Scarlet Blood head Venerate waved his hand and 4-5 blood arrows shot out. This time they did not attack the Hellfire Demon, rather they were all shot at Chu Tian. Facing this kind of attack, Chen Bingyu was already prepared. 3 crystal ice walls appeared in front of her at the same time. The blood arrows broke through one ice wall after another. Finally, when the blood arrows arrived in front of them, their strength had already been exhausted. Chen Bingyu shattered them with a single palm. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate was facing the Hellfire Demon and the little fox that specialized in suppressing demonic arts. He did not have time to gather his strength at all. Chen Bingyu was different, she was prepared to defend at all times. One was attacking in a hurry, the other was waiting silently. It was very hard for a sneak attack to succeed in this situation. The Scarlet Blood head Venerate's strength was becoming weaker and weaker, he could feel that the situation was bad. If he continued to fight, he would finally fail miserably. He no longer fought against the Hellfire Demon and charged out of the barrier. He actually wanted to run. One of the 10 great inheritances of the Tianma cult, the Scarlet Blood inheritance's head Venerate, was actually being forced to run away by a few small southern summer country people. If this was known by the Tianma cult's sect master, he would definitely spit out blood from anger. But, how could Chu Tian let the scarlet blood-head venerate escape so easily? Wasn't this letting the tiger return to the mountain? The little fox's figure flashed and turned into a mass of gray mist, quickly appearing in front of the head venerate. Teleportation. The scarlet blood-head venerate's expression changed. He had indeed underestimated this spirit beast's skills. Because the little fox had appeared too suddenly, the scarlet blood-head venerate was not sure if the little fox had any other skills, so he quickly slowed down. The hellfire demon caught up and sent a fist at the head venerate's back. The head venerate was sent flying again. The little fox seized this chance to leap forward and grab the head venerate's blood chalice. When the little fox grabbed the blood chalice, large amounts of strange ancient runes covered the chalice. The scarlet blood-head venerate instantly felt his connection to the chalice being severed. Die! The head venerate wanted to slap it to death. Pang! The little fox turned into a mass of gray mist and disappeared. What made the head venerate speechless was that what disappeared with the little fox was the blood chalice in his hands. The scarlet blood branch's most important sacred object had been stolen by a little fox in the head venerate's hands in front of the head venerate. It was like a resounding slap to the head venerate's face. It made the scarlet blood-head venerate completely lose his mind. Blood came out of his 7 orifices and his blood-red hair danced in the air as blood flames came out of his pores. Chu Tian was stunned. He is burning his essence blood, preparing to fight to the death, be careful. The scarlet blood-head venerate did not hesitate to use a forbidden technique to burn his essence blood in exchange for an instant increase in strength. This cultivation technique had a large side effect. After the battle ended, his cultivation base would drop by a large amount. So, unless it was a life and death struggle, no one would use this move. He couldn't care about that right now. Even if his cultivation base dropped, he had to kill these people. It could be imagined just how much the scarlet blood-head venerate hated Chu Tian's group. The little fox chose to dodge and controlled the hell flame to retreat while sending out large amounts of green abyss flames. It wanted to use a long-range attack to slow down the head venerate while absorbing the energy from the head venerate. Strange. How could this fellow's energy be this strong? The little fox sucked away wave after wave, making the little fox very busy. The head venerate roared and released his source spirit once again. A blood-red glow suddenly covered the area. The blood skeleton that was released this time was completely different from the previous ones. The blood skeleton was covered in a thick layer of blood and it was holding an incomparably large battle axe in its hands. Its aura was several times stronger than before. Chu Tian revealed a look of shock. This aura clearly surpassed the awakened soul realm, reaching the 3rd large realm, the true spirit realm. This was not a battle of jumping realms, but rather a battle of jumping realms. If it was just jumping realms, there was a chance of victory, but if it was a battle of jumping realms, there was no chance of victory. The little fox continued to absorb several times. The blood skeleton's heavy armor weakened several times and the battle axe in its hands became smaller by several times. The scarlet blood-head venerate had already charged in front of it and the large battle axe chopped down. The little fox quickly controlled the hell flame to dodge. Too fast. The axe still landed on Hellfire's shoulder, chopping off his left arm on the spot. The little fox used all its strength to absorb again. The blood skeleton's armor shattered and the battle axe in its hand became dim. However, the scarlet blood-head venerate had already raised his battle axe and slashed out. The half-moon-shaped red glow swept across the hell flame and cut it in half. The instant the hell flame fell, the little fox suddenly exploded. Almost in an instant, the hell flame exploded and all of its energy was released at once. There were green flames that soared into the sky and slammed into the Scarlet Blood Temple's barrier, causing the entire Scarlet Blood Temple to tremble. Chu Tian's group of 3 were sent flying by the shockwave. The little fox retreated from the center of the explosion in a sorry state. Its beautiful snow-white fur was slightly damaged. It had clearly underestimated the head venerate's strength, but the head venerate had also underestimated its abilities. The explosion of the hell flame this time was enough to heavily injure that fellow. Nan Gongyun quickly asked, "Is it dead?" Chen Bingyu opened her mind's eye and a scarlet outline appeared in the flames. Her brows immediately knit together. "It's not dead yet." Chen Bingyu opened her mind's eye and a scarlet outline appeared in the flames. Her brows immediately knit together. "It's not dead yet." Nan Gongyun was shocked. "It's over, how could it be this strong?" "We're dead for sure this time." "That's not certain." Chu Tian was not panicked at all. The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate had already reached his limit. The little fox took in a large breath and its source spirit completely collapsed. Chen Bingyu shot out like an arrow and her palms came together to send a palm out. Wherever the blue and white ice palm went, the ground was covered in a thick layer of ice. Pang! When this palm energy hit the Scarlet Blood Head Venerate, the ice spirit energy turned into a solid ice crystal. An incomparably large icicle pierced through the head venerate's chest and nailed him to the Scarlet Blood Temple's pillar. Nan Gongyun patted her chest. "You scared this old lady, so you're already spent. You should have died several hundred years ago." Chu Tian looked at her and said, "Do you have any last words? Do you think you've won?" The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate never thought that he would lose to a group of brats. His face was filled with hatred and unwillingness as he angrily roared, "Even if this venerate dies, I'll drag you down with me." As soon as his voice fell, the entire temple began to tremble and actually began to sink. This is bad. Chu Tian felt a large attractive force under his feet, as if gravity had increased by several dozen times. "The Scarlet Blood Temple will sink back into the swamp, quickly leave." The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate gave a sharp laugh. "Leave? No one can leave, you'll be buried with me." Chapter 288. The Head Venerate activated the temple's self-destruct trap. The Scarlet Blood Temple released a powerful source energy array fluctuation. This energy created a strong suction force that caused the center of the temple to cave in. Large cracks began to spread in all directions and the buildings began to collapse. The ground also began to crack and large amounts of swamp mud began to spray out from the ground. This was not a simple silence. This was complete destruction. The Scarlet Swamp was stirred up. The wild and powerful suction force first tore the Scarlet Blood Temple apart before dragging the remains into the abyss, burying them several hundred meters or even 1,000 meters deep in the darkness. From now on, the Scarlet Blood Temple would no longer exist in this world. The treasures hidden in the Scarlet Blood Temple would forever be buried underground. Nan Gongyun shouted in disbelief, "What kind of trap is this? Why can't I move?" The pulling force coming from the shrine was much stronger than they had imagined. Everyone was like a piece of iron that had been firmly sucked in by a magnet. Every step they took became extremely difficult. Even Chen Bingyu found it difficult to move. Hung. An even worse situation occurred. The entire temple's barrier began to crack and the giant barrier began to shrink. This created a strong pressure that seemed like it wanted to crush everything in the barrier into a meat patty. A double pressure appeared at the same time. It was already impossible for the three of them to escape the Scarlet Blood Temple. Ha! Die, be buried with the Scarlet Blood. The Scarlet Blood Head Venerate wildly laughed. He allowed his body to fall into the center of the collapse and be swallowed by the endless swamp. Fuck! Nan Gongyun loudly cursed, "This old demon still wants to trick us before he dies." There was no use saying anything now. The Scarlet Blood Temple was collapsing very quickly and the three of them couldn't escape, so they would die without a doubt. The little fox could teleport away, but it couldn't bring anyone else. It was anxiously running around, but there was nothing it could do. Were they really going to die here? Nan Gongyun and Chen Bingyu felt a deep sense of helplessness. "You guys charge, don't look back." In this dangerous moment, Chu Tian suddenly shouted, "Leave immediately." You think this old lady doesn't want to leave? He really couldn't move. Most of the Scarlet Blood Temple had collapsed and the deep purple swamp swallowed everything. It was like a whirlpool in the sea, quickly spinning. The fragments of the temple floated above the whirlpool, like islands being swallowed by the endless whirlpool. There was no other way. Chu Tian slammed his palms together. A mysterious and vast power suddenly gushed out from his body. Chu Tian's entire aura suddenly changed. He was no longer lazy and carefree. Instead, he was like a high and mighty monarch, a god looking down on all living beings. One of his eyes turned silver and the other white, and the 7 pupils spun within them. In the end, they gathered together and overlapped with each other. It was like a 7-colored flower, full of strangeness and mystery. Chu Tian closed his silver left eye and only opened his white right eye. The white pupil gradually lit up. An indescribable force was released in all directions. All the collapsing was stopped, and all the pressure disappeared in an instant. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu were both stunned. What kind of power was this? Let's go. Blood flowed out of Chu Tian's eyes as he gritted his teeth and jumped out. The 3 of them charged out of the barrier together. When Chu Tian fell to the ground, his eyes returned to normal, but his face was as white as paper. He fell to the ground and had already lost consciousness. Nangong Yun quickly picked him up. Hey, what happened to you? That power of his is very strong, but it also has a large restriction. Chen Bingyu said with a serious expression. He should have fainted from exhaustion. Let's leave this place. All right. Nangong Yun carried Chu Tian on her back and the 2 of them quickly left the swamp. The little fox followed behind. When they didn't go far, it suddenly found a giant beast lying on the ground. Its body was covered in wounds and it had already been killed. It was the super demon beast of the Scarlet Swamp, the dragon lizard beast. The little fox stopped moving and spat out the soul puppet from its mouth. It held it in its hand and waved it at the dragon lizard beast's corpse a few times. Traces of purple things gathered around the corpse and were all absorbed into the little puppet. This puppet turned into a miniature dragon lizard beast. The little fox grinned and nodded in satisfaction. Then it swallowed the soul puppet back into its stomach and its 4 limbs teleported a few times. It quickly caught up to the 3 of them and left the Scarlet Swamp. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu did not know what method Chu Tian used to stop the collapse of the temple. Actually, the method Chu Tian used far surpassed their imaginations. Chu Tian released a kind of energy that caused the surrounding space to freeze, so the collapse could not continue and the 3 of them were able to escape. This kind of ability to control space, it was like a spiritual god's ability. Because of this, Chu Tian had consumed a large amount of energy. With his awakened soul realm cultivation, he could not handle this kind of powerful energy, so he fainted. The 2 girls first placed Chu Tian in Scarlet Swamp Town. Chu Tian fainted for 3 days and 3 nights before he finally slowly woke up. He let out a long sigh of relief. I'm still alive. Boss has finally woken up. You were truly too powerful at that time. Nangong Yun looked at Chu Tian with a face of worship. You saved our lives. I really need to properly thank you. Then how are you going to thank me? Chu Tian weakly looked at her. Could it be that you're going to repay me with your body? Nangong Yun patted her firm chest. If you don't mind, I don't mind either. Since I'm married to someone, I won't let the goodies flow into an outsider's field. Cool, cool. Chu Tian coughed a few times and waved his hand as he said, I'm hungry, go get something to eat. Chu Tian ate several level 2 cans of food and his strength quickly recovered. Although his head was still hurting, it would be fine after 3-5 days of rest. Chu Tian did not think that after activating it for 1-2 seconds, he would actually faint. He was still too weak right now. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu saw that Chu Tian was not willing to talk about it, so they did not take the initiative to ask. After all, everyone had their own secrets and most powerful cultivators had their own trump cards. This kind of matter was not suitable for them to get to the bottom of. We've already been delayed for an entire 7-8 days because of the Tianma cult. Nangong Yun said in a slightly worried voice, "Do you think the Southern Summer King will punish us for this? The royal proclamation wants us to immediately head to Imperial City and did not set a time for us to reach Imperial City." "I'm not worried at all, so what are you worried about?" After Chu Tian ate and drank his fill, he was once again filled with energy. He hooked his finger at the little fox beside him. "Immediately take out the chalice for me." The little fox unwillingly spat out the blood chalice. This was a genuine soul-contracting weapon. Now that the scarlet blood-head venerate was dead, the spiritual imprint on the blood chalice had disappeared. But what made it hard for Chu Tian was that when Chu Tian touched the blood chalice, there was a surge of energy that came from it. Chu Tian's entire hand was dyed red, like he had just taken it out of a pool of blood. This kind of burning feeling was like strong acid had been poured on it. Chu Tian knit his brows. As expected, there's no way to use it. Nangong Yun and Chen Bingyu gave it a try, but the result was the same. Their attributes and cultivation techniques were completely different from the blood chalice, so naturally they could not control this soul-contracting weapon. "If this thing is useless, then wouldn't we have taken a large risk for nothing?" "You can't say it's useless." Chu Tian put on a pair of gloves and took the blood chalice to the next room. There were 18 barrels in the room and the Yin corpses had already been refined in them for several days. Chu Tian directly poured the red liquid from the blood chalice into the barrels, consuming around half of the wind. The Yin corpses were instantly covered in blood veins as a kind of energy quickly grew in their bodies. The blood chalice could condense true blood. Chu Tian also had the divine blood material in his hands. This combination was enough to refine a group of powerful divine blood Yin corpses. Although he couldn't use the blood chalice to fight, it was still very suitable to be used as a tool to refine corpses. The three of them stayed in Scarlet Swamp Town for another 5 days. Chu Tian kept adding true blood to the corpse refining barrels and the strength of this group of divine blood Yin corpses increased. Each of them had the strength of a peak 6th awakened soul layer cultivator. Not bad. This speed was very satisfying. Chu Tian was prepared to go to Imperial City and refine another batch of diluted divine blood. At that time, he would turn these 18 divine blood Yin corpses into true soul realm Yin corpses. True soul realm experts. That was a very strong bodyguard. With 18 true soul realm Yin corpses by his side, the number of people in Imperial City that could deal with Chu Tian could be counted on one hand. Chu Tian continued his journey north. He traveled day and night without stopping, finally arriving at the core of the Imperial region. It was also the most prosperous city in southern Xia, Imperial City. The young miss had been in Imperial City for a month and a half. He didn't know what the situation was like in Imperial City. When Chu Tian walked into the magnificent Imperial City, the streets of Imperial City were filled with electric lighthouses. There were several Miracle Source Energy hotels along the streets and there was a 10-meter-tall advertisement on the tall buildings in front of them. The picture was of a young girl holding a can of food. There was also a graffiti made with paint, as well as all kinds of advertising slogans. "Wah, is this Yingying?" Nangong Yun looked at the incomparably large advertisement. "This isn't Yingying's style at all. She actually hung her own picture this high." There were many loudspeakers on the streets of Imperial City and there were people carrying magnetic sound machines on their backs. This was not much different from Central State City. Chu Tian couldn't help being secretly speechless. The young miss was truly efficient. This was just the result that he had seen, but it already made Chu Tian very satisfied. When the three of them passed through the streets, the people around them suddenly cried out in surprise. "Everyone, quickly look. That's the Wang family." The Imperial City citizens all cried out in surprise. There was a row of luxurious beast carriages in front of them, passing through the wide road. Each beast carriage was filled with treasure chests, looking like they were very rich. A citizen asked in a puzzled voice, "Where are they going?" "Of course it's Miracle Commerce. Today is Miracle Commerce's Vice Chairman Meng Qingwu's birthday. Is that true? It's actually Madam Meng Qingwu's birthday. Everyone seemed to be very familiar with Meng Qingwu. In just a short month, Meng Qingwu had already made a name for herself in Imperial City. But what made Chu Tian curious was that even he didn't know Meng Qingwu's birthday, so how did these grandsons know? Let's go take a look. Chapter 289. Miracle Commerce's Imperial City headquarters was the residence of the great scholar Gu Qianqiu. This was a place that the Southern Summer King specially rewarded after the great scholar made a large contribution to Southern Xia. It was only inferior to the Three Rulers' Palace and the Royal Palace, but it was not any smaller than the central state headquarters. Gu Qianqiu was not used to living in such a large residence, so in order to settle down the Meng Qingwu sisters as soon as possible, he emptied out the entire residence and used it as Miracle Commerce's Imperial City headquarters. It was also because of this that most of the Imperial City people knew that the great scholar had a close relationship with Miracle Commerce. So, even if Miracle Commerce came to Imperial City and made a series of bold moves, offending the interests of many people, there was very little resistance. Today was Meng Qingwu's birthday. Miracle Commerce's vice chairman was not simple, opening up a world in the complicated Imperial City in less than 2 months. Although it was because of the great scholar's relationship, it was inseparable from her own ability. If it was a normal manager, they wouldn't even be able to reach a quarter of the current situation. Now, Miracle Commerce's products were all over Imperial City, so its influence was not weak. Meng Qingwu had become the goddess of the Imperial City people. A country-destroying young woman, not only could she control a shocking amount of wealth, she also had outstanding abilities. The saying that one should take Meng Qingwu as a wife was now the most popular saying in Imperial City. This was just the beginning. Miracle Commerce's potential was so big that the company would not stop. Sooner or later, it would become the most outstanding company in Southern Xia. Therefore, Meng Qingwu's birthday was not simple. This gave countless people a chance and reason to approach Meng Qingwu, so they all came to give gifts. Meng Qingwu had just arrived, so she had to pay attention to these local snakes. When Meng Qingwu gained a firm foothold, these people would not have a chance to curry favor with her even if they wanted to. The young miss is doing quite well. When Chu Tian came to Miracle Commerce, he was first satisfied with the headquarters. This building is even more luxurious than Central State, it's almost like a palace. This was a 9-way palace building. The area it occupied was around 50% larger than the Central State headquarters, and the amount of space inside was several times greater. Even if 10,000 people were to live in it, it would be more than enough, and it would not feel crowded. This was enough to satisfy the development needs of a large chamber of commerce. Nangong Yun said with slight disdain, Sister Qingwu is not only smart, she is also very hardworking and does everything herself. Unlike some people, you can't even see a shadow of them all day. Are you mocking me, your boss? If that's the case, then it's a misunderstanding. Chu Tian said shamelessly, are you deliberately slacking off? Aren't I purposely leaving something for you to do to strengthen your position in the Chamber of Commerce? You have to understand boss's good intentions. He would rather be gossiped about behind his back to clear a stage for you guys. Nangong Yun rolled her eyes, too lazy to talk to this guy, what are we standing here for? After traveling for more than half a month, we can finally have a good meal. Let's go. Halt. Just as the three of them stepped forward, a guard stopped them. Do you have an invitation? What? You're asking me for an invitation. Chu Tian walked forward and patted his face, please open your eyes and look clearly. This handsome face in front of you is the pass. Move aside. The guards' faces turned dark and they were about to explode in anger. Where did this fellow come from? He was simply asking for a beating. The outer guards of Miracle Commerce were all recruited by the Imperial City, mainly arranged by the great scholar and the calm martial ruler, so it was normal that they had never seen Chu Tian before. Nan Gongyun quickly walked forward and took out a token from her waist. Do you recognize this? Ah, this is. The expressions of the guards changed. This was the token of a high-level member of Miracle Commerce. The second young Miss Meng Yingying had one, which meant that this person's position was around the same as Meng Yingying. The guards quickly moved to the side and respectfully invited the three of them in. Chu Tian was filled with depression. Damn it, this is my own territory. But seeing that these guards were all tall and strong, it seemed like Miracle Commerce had quite a bit of power in Imperial City. Miracle Commerce's main courtyard was already filled with people and the company's employees were busy entertaining them. At this time, the banquet had already begun. The Source Energy chefs had cooked thousands of dishes and brought them out for everyone. Quickly look. Nan Gongyun looked over and called out in pleasant surprise, isn't that Yingying and big sister Qinggu? The three of them looked into the distance and saw the Meng Qinggu sisters in the center of the hall. The two of them were very solemn as they received the guests. After not seeing the two sisters for over a month, they looked a bit thinner, but their complexions were very good. It seemed like their cultivations had made large progress. Heavenly Cloud Commerce, 1 10,000-year-old purple crystal. Zhao family head, 1 secret face halting pill. Countless gifts flew into the hall like snowflakes, piling up into a small mountain. Chu Tian's eyes went wide. They could earn this much from a single birthday. It made him want to throw a party. The three of them did not have time to go over. Suddenly, a loud voice came out, Wang family's young master Wang Yuan, 10 boxes of deep-sea pearls, 100 bolts of 1,000-year golden silk, 1 dragon-tamed beast carriage. To celebrate young Miss Meng Qingwu's birthday. The entire crowd was in an uproar. This was truly a large sum. It was just a normal birthday, was there a need to give such a large gift? Meng Qingwu slightly knit her brows as if she was not very happy, but she quickly returned to normal. With a polite smile, she said, thank you young master Wang Yuan. Ha, ha, ha. Wang Yuan was a young man with an elegant appearance. He looked even younger than Meng Qingwu, at most 17 to 18 years old. From his entourage and bearing, he clearly came from a large family. Coming to your palace today is not only to celebrate the chairman's birthday, but also to announce an important matter. Adding this matter today, it can be considered double happiness. The Wang family was very influential in Imperial City. This family was a large family in the kingdom, second only to the 3 large families in Imperial City. Although Meng Qingwu did not like this family, they were still very powerful, so she did not dare to rashly make a move. She was a smart person, the Wang family's way of doing things was tyrannical. At this time, she first used diplomacy before resorting to force. What she was going to propose next would definitely be very difficult. Young Master Wang, if you have something to say, why don't we talk about it after the banquet is over? No, no. This matter must be made known to everyone. Wang Yuan shook his head, not giving Meng Qingwu any leeway. My family has already agreed to let me marry young Miss Meng Yingying. As soon as he said that, the entire crowd was in an uproar. Meng Qingwu and her sister were even more dumbfounded. Congratulations young Master Wang. Congratulations young Master Wang. Everyone stood up to congratulate him. Wang Yuan said with a smile, such a good thing, and on such a good day, I think we should also fix the wedding. What does Chairman Meng think? Wang Yuan was here to propose marriage. Meng Yingying was so angry that she almost jumped off the roof. What nonsense are you saying? Your family agrees, do I agree? How can you be this unreasonable? Yingying, believe me. From the first time I saw you, I already fell in love with you. The marriage of a man and woman should be arranged by the elders. I think Chairman Meng would not reject this good thing, right? Relax, I can guarantee that once Yingying enters my Wang family, she will be my, Wang Yuan's, official wife. Wang Yuan confidently looked at Meng Qingwu. If our two families form an alliance, we will definitely be successful in the future. Even the 3 large families will have to be wary of us. Young Master Wang really knows how to joke. Meng Qingwu's face sunk and she was already very dissatisfied. I don't dare be careless with my little sister's marriage. If Ying really likes it, then it's fine, but you are forcing her into a marriage. Humph. Could it be that this young master is not good enough for Ying? Then I'm curious, could it be that you want Ying to marry into the royal family? Why don't you look at yourself in the mirror? Who do you think you are? I'd rather marry a beggar than marry you. Meng Ying fiercely scolded him and then anxiously added, I already have someone I like. If I tell you his name, you'll be scared to death. You can't even compare to a single strand of his hair. Meng Qingwu couldn't help looking at her little sister with a strange look before bluntly saying, please forgive Qingwu for not agreeing to this request. Shame and anger. Anger. This Wang Yuan's face was turned into a pig's liver color after being rejected in front of everyone. This young master has come with such sincerity to propose, but you dare treat me like this? Do you know the power of my Wang family? Offending the Wang family, you can forget about staying in Imperial City. Meng Qingwu did not give an inch. I ask young Master Wang to take back your gift. Miracle commerce does not need to look at other people's faces. Meng Qingwu, I advise you not to be too ruthless. You will have to go through my Wang family's door sooner or later. Now marry my little sister over, everyone will be a family from now on. We can talk things over. Meng Qingwu's face changed. What did you say? I might as well tell you honestly and also remind everyone here who has thoughts of coveting Chairman Meng. Wang Yuan arrogantly declared in a loud voice, as if he was declaring his sovereignty, Meng Qingwu is the woman my big brother likes. She can only belong to my big brother in this life, so you guys should give up on this idea. If anyone dares cross the line, then think carefully about what kind of consequences they will face. There were quite a few young men here who were admirers of Meng Qingwu, but when they heard Wang Yuan's words, their attitudes all changed. If that person likes her, then this Meng Qingwu would really be a pity, a pity. Who the fuck do you think you are? A figure quickly charged forward and a fist landed on Wang Yuan's face. Half of Wang Yuan's handsome face was deformed and he was sent flying into the opposite wall. Not good. The Wang family's young master has been hit. This is going to be a big disaster. The guests were all panicked and they all took the initiative to leave to avoid trouble. The Meng Qingwu sisters were stunned, but when they saw the person who did it, Meng Ying's eyes popped out like they were about to spit out flames. You still know how to come. Chu Tian smiled at her, we'll catch up later. After saying this, Chu Tian directly walked over. Wang Yuan covered his face in fear, spitting out blood as he said in a frightened voice, you dare hit me? Shua. Chu Tian pulled out the netherworld sword, what does hitting you count for? If I don't let you taste something powerful today, you won't know what I, Chu Tian, am capable of. When he saw the ice-cold blade and the undisguised killing intent coming from Chu Tian, Wang Yuan was filled with fear. He really would make a move against this person. Meng Qingwu quickly stopped him, Chu Tian, enough. Chu Tian. This person was Chu Tian. Although Chu Tian had never come to Imperial City before, his name had already spread throughout Imperial City. This was a fellow that even dared to capture the Western Marquis Southern State Army. He was the most arrogant youth in Southern Xia's history. However, because Chu Tian was too arrogant, many people in Imperial City were dissatisfied. The Wang family's young master was one of the people that didn't like Chu Tian. I even dared to hit the Western Marquis. Chu Tian laughed as he looked at this brat, do you think you are more precious than the Western Marquis? Chu Tian. Meng Qingwu had already run to Chu Tian's side, today is my birthday, give me some face. Chu Tian saw that Meng Qingwu's gaze was strange. He knew that Meng Qingwu had a cautious personality, but Meng Qingwu also understood Chu Tian's personality. If this person wasn't special, just based on his attempt to steal her little sister, Meng Qingwu would not have let him off. Alright. Chu Tian put away his sword. I won't cut him, but a beating is unavoidable. Nangong, I'll leave him to you. No problem. Nangong Yung cracked his knuckles and walked in front of Wang Yuan with a fiendish smile. He dragged Wang Yuan out of the hall. Ah! 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 Save me! A pitiful scream made everyone's blood run cold. Meng Qingwu's eyes flashed and she gave a helpless sigh. Chu Tian really was the incarnation of trouble, causing this kind of trouble as soon as he came to Imperial City. He didn't even ask the other side's background before making such a heavy move. This matter would not end here. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.